Excellent!
I'm not interrupting anything, am I?
Bogus.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? What, a DeLorean?
My name's Norman Bates.
Oh, man, I'm so excited. I'm in, Mom.
Merry Christmas, movie house! We came, we saw, we kicked his ass.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
Everything's under control. Situation normal.
Oh, well. Let me go in and say hi.
Hail to the king, baby.
Well, it is Sunday night here at the PJCN, and we are talking all things Zack Snyder's Justice League. And no, I am not Maxwell. I'm PJ, that's Sean, and we have taken over. Hi, Sean. Why are you off camera? Oh, hi. Okay. Perfect.
Sorry, just dealing with fatal airbrush failure over here. We fixed it. We're fine. Max isn't here to run the show, which last time Max wasn't here, PJ, I don't know if you remember what happened.
Are you talking about the fabled episode of the Mandalorian after show that basically was Box Live?
Yeah, I am talking about Box Live.
Box Live Mandalorian edition.
But I'm sure you have some preamble to get to, but we have some wonderful guests, so I'm hoping we can keep it a little more professional.
Yeah, so things happen on this network. Falcon and Winter Soldier, come hang out on Saturday mornings. If you want to hear us talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier, watch Drunk. It is exactly what it sounds like. Hey, we have a 1-year celebration on Wednesday. That should be fun. People are going to be drunk and stoned, and oh dear God, I don't know what's going to happen. Book Nook is coming back. That is a thing that's happening. We have a Patreon. Right? That's a thing.
We do. I set it up.
Yeah. You guys all here that are listed are cool patrons. I don't name people like Maxwell does because I'm very professional. Is there anything else? Perfect. So I think that pretty much sums up where we're at with the show. It's going to be a very, very chill night. You can already tell we're just, this is going really well. So let's start off. We've got two guests. Tonight. And there might be more people who show up throughout, people that you also recognize. But first, I'm very excited because this is actually going to be her debut on the network. You guys all know her from the Movie Trivia Schmodown. She has become one of my favorite people over the last year.
Unlike me, she knows how to win a match.
This is correct. She can win a match, unlike you. And she doesn't blame the questions when she gets them wrong. Also, unlike you. Her name is Marisol, and we're happy to have her. And
she generally gets questions that are actually in the movie, though.
Oh, fuck you.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Marisol.
I can come back. You guys can work this out.
We've been working on this since like mid-February.
Since whenever that taped. That's the thing that happened. And we've gone to couples counseling. It's working out as well as you expect. But how are you?
I'm feeling pretty great. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling rejuvenated. It's been a rough 24 hours, but
I was going to say
Pedialyte helps.
You were on the street for like 5 hours last night, and you were pretty drunk.
As would happen, and I blame Sully. I mean, who can I blame but Sully? It's your shake.
No. Blame Jill. It's Jill's fault.
No, Sean, it's you. You made the drinks.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's the shake. The shake did me in. I shouldn't have gone for the second.
I had 2 and passed out, and you guys kept going.
Yeah, I had 2, and everybody got to see what happens when you have 2. So that's great. That's documented forever.
I think Jill had 3.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Did she wake up? Is she awake? Did she wake up today?
Yeah, she's on POV right now.
Oh God.
At least that's the rumors that we hear.
God bless her. Yeah, so we've heard. God bless her. You guys are the best.
We also have another returning panelist. You've seen him here before. He is one of my favorite people in this space. He just did a really cool short with Dan I about Superman and the Joker. His name is Andreas Gallagher. Hi, Andreas. How are you?
How's it going, guys? How's it going?
Good, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, no. Great to see everybody here, and great to chat with Marisol. Great to chat with Sal. And but I couldn't help but notice that the dog was barking in the background, and all I just pictured was the dog basically subtitling, "Do not blame the writers."
Yeah.
I rarely blame the writers except when it's PJ.
But I like in particular. I mean, especially during my match, like whenever I got a question wrong, or just in general, I don't actually get upset. I actually just get more like, damn, he got me with that. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
like
see, my problem was I went, damn, he got me. Until later.
It's a trap.
Anyways,
look at who's
you know
in
what?
the chat right now, by the way.
Let's
We got
move
Adam.
on.
Hey,
What's up, Adam?
Let's move on. Let's celebrate Adam being here. I'm really going to run out of these by...
You realize it's not until Wednesday. That's still like 3 days from now, right?
Yeah, I only have 3 left. It smells like gunpowder.
Well, I think that the thumbnail, for everyone who's here, you all know we're all here to talk about something that I, honest to God, never thought was going to see the light of day, and that is Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm going to start real quick and just say, like, I don't want any fucking negativity from anyone in the chat. Anyone who fucking steps out of line, I am booting you tonight, because I just want this to be a celebration of something that, for all intents and purposes, should not exist, and yet does. And we are all here for it actually existing. And I really just want to, like, really point out that, like, after everything, I don't necessarily love the means of how we got here, but we got here. And Snyder's version is now out in the world for us all to enjoy on HBO Max. I have watched it twice. That is 8 hours of my life already in this weekend. And I absolutely adored it. I want to go around the panel real fast. Let's get like initial impressions on watching it, and you know, what was your journey on these movies to this point? Starting over with Marisol.
Okay. My initial. There was so much loaded behind this. I have been waiting for this movie.
Yes, Brittany, yes.
I have been waiting for this movie. This movie that came out, this Snyder cut. I have been waiting for. This is what I've wanted my entire life. Like, I have been waiting for this since I was a wee little kid. I love these characters, and I would dream when I was a kid of like a chance to like see them come together on the big screen. Oh, the irony. On any kind of screen, I guess now, in the Justice League movie. And this was it. So there was a lot building up to this for years. I love DC. I love the superheroes. Superman's my favorite of all time. Wonder Woman's like very close. She's right there with him. And I appreciate all the heroes. I'm familiar with all of them. I care about them. This was a big deal. This was building for a while. And of course I've watched all the movies remotely relating to this. And yeah, it was, so I can't say I came into it like neutral. I came into it with a lot of expectation, and it was just heightened even more after like my heart was just broken with the Whedon cut in 2017. That was just such a slap in the face. It was heartbreaking to see something you care about treated like such an afterthought by the people involved, and so this had a lot of meaning. This means more to me than I guess to the average just moviegoer who just wants to see something cool. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. Like, I can guarantee all 3 of us were there opening weekend for what should have been like our hype and excitement in the same way that the Avengers was, man. Like,
There's 4 of us on the panel.
Fuck you. God damn it. Anyway, the point being is that we all went hoping to love this thing. This was like Avengers level excitement for anyone who grew up, like, especially like Justice League had such a great cartoon that we all grew up on. Like, the DC animated stuff was like a staple of 90s and 2000s kids.
I think we're all in the same age bracket. We're all between the ages of 28 and 32.
Yeah.
Andreas might be significantly older or younger for all I know. I don't know.
I'm right on the cusp.
Okay. So, we all grew up with the Justice League and Batman. There really wasn't an Avengers cartoon.
No.
The fact that Avengers is as big as it is now is so crazy to me, because like, I didn't know Iron Man growing up. I learned about Iron Man when I was in high school.
Like, he had a one-season Fox show?
I knew, you're right. I remember that, but I didn't know who the hell he was. I knew Spider-Man and I knew the X-Men, and that's the only Marvel shit we got growing up. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I am not a big DC fan. Not because there's anything wrong with it. I just grok a little bit better to Marvel. I love The Flash. I love Green Arrow. I love Green Lantern. And I like a lot of things with Batman. I don't like the whole, oh, Batman could win any fight if he prepares for it. Like, okay, yeah, sure. So can a lot of people. But like, I grew up on Batman, right? And this movie to me was so fucking amazing. And I've been saying forever how I think Jared Leto nailed the Joker. He just looks like a dunce. PJ, you've heard me say that, right? Like he is a great Joker. He just looks so freaking stupid.
Yes. I want this movie. Thank you, Adam.
And I kind of feel vindicated with this movie. I love Deathstroke. I love Joe Manganiello. Like I saw someone today, and I'm not going to name names, but Andres may have been on the panel. And someone mentioned that, well, if you just cut out the epilogue of this movie, it's the perfect length. No. The epilogue is brilliant.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you saw my face during that moment. I'm like,
the epilogue. If you get rid of Joe Morton's final, like, entire speech that he does in voiceover, the movie is worse off for it. We need that for that alone. Just not to jump to the end already, but you know.
I feel like it's like, and I feel like when people are talking about the epilogue, really, I feel like their criticisms is just steered obviously towards the scene with Batman and Joker. Like I just feel like that's because out of everything, like you can't leave out the Joe Morton part, but like I think of everything, that was the one I think that it was really easy to just be like, that's indulgent. Like this is something that just that was the thing that people saw was the appendix that just didn't need to be there. And to be fair, like no, it doesn't need to be there. But like also you just got to put it in context. Like Snyder's just being completely realistic. Look, he put that there for us. He put that there for the fans. This was a chance he had to put it out there. And he's like, look, I might not even make another one of these. I might even not be able to make another one of these. So look, I know this is what you guys love. I know this is what you came for. This is I know what you care about. Here's just like a teaser. I don't give a fuck whether anybody thinks this is supposed to be in here or not. It doesn't matter. Like it was for the people who wanted to see it. And I applaud him 1,000% for just putting it in because now we get a taste of like, what the direction that he was going to go.
I love absolutely. And we would also all watch the shit out of Deathstroke, Mira, Batman, and Joker, and The Flash. Yeah. We'd all watch the hell of that out of that movie.
Yeah. And look, such an odd pairing though, but it's one of those pairings that you go, you know what? I would have never thought of that right off the bat. I want to see that movie though.
And now you want to see how they got there. Yeah. And then like that, you're like, I will sit through a 3-hour movie of showing how we get to that point where all these people are together.
Look, I mean, I would pay an exorbitant amount of money just to get the next 2 chapters of this. Like, I'll be completely honest. I would do unspeakably bad things to make sure that we got the last 2 chapters of what Snyder was doing. But Andreas, what about you, man? What were your thoughts on this once you like sat through it that first time?
Oh my god, dude! Well, if you can't tell, I'm kind of a fan of the DC universe. Just
I don't know. I see turtles in the background, so
yeah, we question your commitment to sparkle motion. Really, we really do.
Oh my god, yes. but yeah, no. For me, in the Snyder universe, there's certain things that have been giant hits and giant misses for me, but overall, I really enjoyed where he was going with it. And like everybody else here, I was very disappointed by Snyder's. I mean, no, by Whedon's cut of Snyder's work, and that. Goodness, like again, the same thing with Marisol. I grew up loving DC. Superman is also my favorite as well. Goodness. And just the level of anticipation for that original film was so high for me. And then when it finally came out, it's the disappointment factor on that front. And then hearing that the Snyder Cut got greenlit, that was a shock to my core. I was like, I never thought this day would ever happen. And then when I finally saw it, I actually popped it in on Wednesday night at 1 a.m. And I managed to sit through the entire thing without falling asleep. And then literally right afterwards, I pulled a Kalinowski and I just basically went, I'm going to watch it again. So I watched it twice.
Yo, you need some sleep.
Sleep is for the dreamers.
Dude, we can sleep when we're dead, Sean. Okay.
Exactly.
I got a day job. I'm sorry.
But so overall with this, the level of anticipation for me with this, it was unprecedented in the fact that we've never gotten something like this before. I mean, what other point in history can you really say something like this has happened, where a studio has taken a movie completely away from a director, and not only did the artist get it back, but the fan base was a really big part about him getting it back. Like, this has never happened before. This is unprecedented. So it was almost like watching history in the making when this came out, if that makes any sense.
I think the one thing that does need to be said about that is, I think it does set a bad precedent, like with the, now those fans are saying we need to, like, Maxwell has a good point. We do have the water cooler background.
Yeah. We're only the most professional here. There we go.
Maxwell or
Maxwell, yes, Maxwell.
Now those fans are going on about how, now we need to reboot the 7, 8, 9 and reboot the sequel trilogy and this, that, and the other thing. Like, no, we fucking don't. Get off your high horse. But I'm glad that we got to see twice in 1 year. We got to see the fans kind of have a voice in this stuff, because look behind Andres, right? Look at that. Look behind PJ. That is fucking dedication to this sort of shit. This fandom stuff, right? Yeah. Like, we care so much about this stuff, and occasionally we need to be listened to, but I hope it doesn't become a trend of us holding things hostage.
There's a right time and a place. We've seen, this is like you just said, this is the best possible, this is the best example of this kind of scenario. And so but it's absolutely a double-edged sword. Cause I think on the flip side, the worst version of the scenario is entitlement, just unwarranted entitlement in the fans' corner. And the one that always comes to mind, one of the biggest examples of that was when fans were demanding, when Game of Thrones, when season 8 came out, and the fans were demanding, you need to redo this show for us. And I was like, no, the fuck they don't. All right, I'm sorry you didn't like the show. I'm sorry you're disappointed, but you need to check your entitlement at the door, because they don't. They made the show that they told the story the way they had the time and the resources. They told the story the way they wanted to tell the story. And yes, you didn't like it. You're completely entitled to your opinion, to not like it, but you're not entitled to then demand, to shoot down somebody's art and demand that they change it to please you. 100%. That's the worst. That's the opposite direction. And so it's hard. You can't get one without the other, though. It's this was a great thing. The Snyder Cut, the best case scenario, we get something like the Snyder Cut, but I feel like it'll be really too easy for a lot of people to run away. Like you're saying, run away with that power. Can we keep in perspective? We don't need to do this now for everything.
Right. And the difference with this too, that people don't seem to get, and I think this is what is so important, is that when you look at Game of Thrones, when you look at whatever happened with the Star Wars movies, all that stuff was ultimately done by the people behind the scenes. Solo is the only exception to that rule, as we know, that all of those were done by the people. They set out to do the thing they did, whether we like it or not. They made the movie that they wanted to make, whether we like it or not, so on and so forth. Justice League was a totally different situation. Snyder set out to make his movie, and Warner Brothers stepped in, and after what they did to BVS, and this is the craziest thing. After BVS, which got dismal reviews because they cut 30 minutes out of the movie, they panicked and then continued to worry about this movie.
Well, they worried about
that
length.
they'd already meddled with. because they meddled
They
with
worried
something
about
else.
length, but they
No,
worried
I know.
about it in the wrong direction.
So you meddled with one thing and you worried about it. Now you're worried about the other thing because you already meddled with the other thing. And so WB created a fucking tornado vacuum thing for themselves of worry and anger when had they just let the filmmaker who they signed on and set out to do these 3 movies that he was going to do at the time with Man of Steel, BVS, and then Justice League, you had signed him on. Just let him see it to the end. Like, for better or worse, let him make his movie. You fucking signed it on. So that's the difference, is that these people in the world, they all these fans don't understand that the reason the Snyder thing is so important was it was fans. Again, I don't necessarily love all the means that we did to get here, but at the same time, kudos to the fans in the meantime also for standing up and being like, no, we were in this because of him, and we want to see his vision seen through. And that is like beautiful and dedication that you don't normally see. But also WB now looks real foolish like twice in a row when it comes to Snyder.
Well, look, we can keep waxing poetically. Let's talk about the film itself.
All right.
So we don't need to go through play by play. Let's talk about this. What's everyone's favorite thing about this cut of the film that's different than the previous cut? Because I can't think of very much I like from the previous cut. I'll be honest with you.
Well, the first thing that comes right off the bat for me is the certainty of tone in the Snyder cut. Because with the Whedon cut, it felt like a mishmash of so many things. Like Flash's humor didn't fit in multiple scenes. The humor coming from Batman especially didn't fit. I mean, with everything that had been built up previously, it just kind of felt like, for lack of a better word, it was Josh Whedon's sock puppets all talking to one another, because it kind of felt like he put his personality in every single one of these characters to the point where it was unmistakably that these were not the characters that we expected to come in and see. But yes,
no,
but
no.
but ultimately, I feel that this movie has a certainty of tone, certainty in its ambitions in terms of what kind of story it wants to tell, and it doesn't make too many false steps in that vision, and it feels like a cohesive narrative from Snyder, if that makes any sense. And that to me goes a long way in terms of just making the movie flow so much better. Like for a 4-hour movie, for me, this movie flows a lot better than the Whedon cut. And the Whedon cut is basically 2 hours.
Yeah. I think the big issue with the Whedon cut is it almost feels like I don't care about any of these characters, right? Like regardless of where else I've seen them, I just don't care. It doesn't give me anything in the film to care about. I mean, and like, especially when you're introducing Flash and you're introducing Cyborg, like, I don't really think we need an Aquaman introduction. Like, we know who Aquaman is. It's Jason Momoa. You trust him to play his character, but like,
yeah, but his introduction is fucking awesome, and I don't want
his introduction now is great. Now, I don't like the weird singing.
Those ladies, Icelandic ladies,
the singing bothered you? No, I think probably the thing that bothered me the most was the sniffing of the sweater. Like, it was like, oh god.
No, I like that. I like the Aquaman fangirls. I think the singing went on like 2 measures too long.
Yeah, it was awkwardly long. No, I will agree with you on that, because I remember thinking that the first time I watched it too. I was just like, is something about to happen with these ladies? Like, I was like, are they about to become characters? Because it was a nice moment, but yeah, then it did last for over a minute, and I was just like.
And there's little things throughout this too, because in a lot of ways it's like a very beautiful work print. Like, obviously he finished all the effects and stuff, so there's little things here and there where you could nip and tuck, but at the same time, like, it's very cool. Like, it's hard to be upset about it at the same time. Like, you know what I mean? Weirdly enough, like, I look at the Superman Resurrection as one of the best. Like, let's look at something that is so vastly different in 2 different versions of this movie. Like, the way that the Superman Resurrection is handled in this is so different, because in the Justice League WB Whedon thing that came out, it's all Batman's idea and no one wants anything to do with it. Like everyone's telling him he's wrong. Like, don't do it. We don't want to do it. In this movie, it's actually Flash who brings it up. He's like, I'm going to say it if no one else does. They're all realizing they need Superman in that moment. Like that scene of them standing around the table is so great. And then we finally see the shot that it was in the trailer originally of like the Superman hologram. Like that was very cool. That sequence and then like it actually happening is brilliant. The thing with Lois in the way she walks in the middle of it, like Batman didn't have her on standby just waiting to like walk in and stop this stuff. She was happy to be there. And that whole thing, by the way, with her where she was coming in every single day to like see the memorial because she missed Clark was beautiful. Yes. And that conversation with the guard who's like, I thought you were going to miss today. Like,
yeah, that's I also agree. Like that's like there's it's so hard to pinpoint one thing, but that is for me, that is the most fundamental change. Like the most essential one is that you believe the entire time, and he made it authentic. The group actually came together for a purpose, for a reason. It was so organic. It was so authentic. The way he actually brought that, you hit the nail on the head, PJ, because that is the absolute biggest, most essential change, I think, in the whole thing. How they handled, it's the crutch of the entire film. Like how everybody approached, came together, discussed, weighed the pros and cons of bringing Superman back, discussed it, really, really gave it the time of day, and came through understanding with mutual respect with each other, decided that this is what they're going to do. And they knew how dangerous it was still at the same time to do it. Like Cyborg, like those, like the flashes, like Cyborg, like right before, like even Cyborg, they're nervous about it. They're all nervous about it. Like Diana has doubts. Cyborg has doubts. He has the flashes to the future, the future that they can bring if they bring him back. Which is Jesus, don't like bone chilling, like that.
I so bad want one of these post-apocalyptic Justice League movies. Give it to us.
And that was Snyder's plan originally, because you remember when this was first announced, this was announced as a two-parter, and nobody had any idea what that second movie was going to be, and it was just going to be the nightmare sequence. And
I'm all for it.
No, and here's the thing, and here's how everyone's changed their tune on that, because you remember back when BVS came out, people were just like, "What is this? This is extraneous. This doesn't fit the tone of what this film is." And
why is Flash sticking halfway out of a portal? Like, I mean.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where sometimes you have to trust a creator with where they're going. You may not see the full picture right now, but it's only because you're on chapter 2. You're not at the end of the book just yet. You don't know exactly where it's going to go later on down the line. And this was a big example of how sometimes fans just need to just chill and just wait.
Well, and it's so funny, too, because, like, if you look at what WB is just doing right now on CW, I'm really big into Superman and Lois. Like, I think Superman and Lois has done a great job of doing the thing that I think people misunderstand Superman for. Superman's been one of my favorite characters forever. And people say he's not relatable, and I push back on that all the time. And Superman and Lois has done a great job of putting him in a position where he has to be a father and is dealing with shit on like a ground level while also being Superman. But they are also doing something that this was doing. All this stuff with like alternate worlds and versions of Superman that are evil that were set up in Crisis. And like they're doing all of that. And yet at the same time, WB was so scared to do it on the other side. And it's so fucking confusing to me that they're being like, yeah, this side can do it. And we're also going to have Ezra pop up as Flash because we like what you're doing here, but we were too scared to do it over here. What?
It's kind of weird what Warner Bros. Will prioritize every now and again when it comes to some of their movies. I mean, like I told the story before where with Wonder Woman, they were so anxious about the movie being 2 hours and 20 that they were asking Patty Jenkins to cut the No Man's Land scene, and that's that's insanity.
That's the centerpiece of the film. Yeah, that's the most emotional moment in the film for me.
If you take that out, that movie doesn't work the same way.
No, absolutely. Oh God! Like what's called like I remember seeing that movie in theaters opening day and just kind of being like, all right, well, this is probably going to be an enjoyable moment. I did not expect to like feel that like rush of energy. It's like, yeah Diana, head down.
I don't love that movie as much as most people do, but that scene alone is fucking fantastic. Which, you know what? Speaking of Wonder Woman, we got a lot more background on Darkseid and Steppenwolf in this film. We actually got Darkseid in this film, which we don't get in the thing.
Darkseid in the theatrical cut. Who the fuck is Darkseid?
Yeah, well, and I just want to point out for those of you that love the comics, the animated, the animated versions of these characters, in the Cyborg future visions, we see Darkseid with his jagged laser vision.
Yeah,
which is so fucking cool.
Which was so cool when he's underwater.
When he kills, when he kills Aquaman.
I was like, okay, that's lovely, that's wonderful. But we get this whole battle between Earth's gods and Earth's higher powers against Darkseid and his forces. That's lovely. That's beautiful. I mean, there's just so much in this film that sets up this greater, and I don't think I can talk about this point without talking about Batman vs. Superman. So I did not like the theatrical cuts of Batman vs. Superman or the Justice League. In fact, I fell asleep during both of them. I'm sorry. It happens when there's when there's big CGI fights, I fall asleep. But the director's cuts of both of them are fucking stunning. And Batman vs. Superman and this film both do something really well. They set up these backstories that you don't get the full everything on. Like, I keep going back to the epilogue stuff, and I keep going back to the what are we calling it? The hellscape?
Nightmare.
The nightmare realm. Those scenes all set up this lore and this mythos that we're not filling in. It very much was like Obi-Wan mentioning the Clone Wars in A New Hope. And that's the kind of stuff I grok onto so well. I mean, you guys know I'm a fucking Star Wars guy. But like that, those little bits of trivia and those little bits of lore that like we don't know the answer to yet. And that's what makes me want more from this series. I don't care about the big fights or the big this or the big that or the fact that Flash runs like an idiot. I don't care. Why does Barry
he's swimming in it.
Run like an idiot like this?
You don't like that?
No, I don't.
See, but here's the thing: is that I think in the Whedon cut, I think that's a product of the Whedon cut, whereas the Snyder version actually he knew how to frame him properly. He looks a lot better in this.
Oh yeah.
And in the Snyder version, we get a lot more of why he's doing it. It shows him interacting with the Speed Force. It still looks silly, especially because I fucking love, like, the Flash is my favorite member of the Justice League, and he looks so silly.
Well, I think the irony of what's fun about it is that, like, he's like, it makes him look, the funniest thing about it is because when Batman first asked him about his suit, and he's like, I do competitive, like, what is it, like speed
ice
skating?
dancing.
Ice dancing.
Very competitive ice dancing.
Okay, so yeah, he does say dancing. I was thinking he was doing speed skating, but either way,
it makes him look
kind of
like
makes it look like, okay, he might actually be doing that. Like, okay, well, that makes sense because that's what Flash is. He must have some like athletic inclination or to move like that. That's how he functions. And so it's connected to how he travels like at his super speed. That's that. Well, he found his flow.
And correct me if I'm wrong. The when he saves Iris, I assume it's Iris. Do we know that that's Iris West?
It is Iris.
Okay.
Yeah.
When he saves Iris, he pushes his finger through the window. Does he do that in the Whedon cut?
No.
None of that sequence exists in this.
So like in the Whedon cut.
That kind of stuff. Maybe it was in the deleted scenes, and I saw it there. I don't know.
It was in the trailer.
It was in the trailer. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The original trailer.
Okay.
Way back when. Yeah.
So like that kind of stuff where he's pushing his finger through the window, like that makes the funny running. Let's call it funny running.
Funny running.
The slow running.
That makes the funny running. Trademark. That makes the funny running make a little more sense to me. Like it's the way he's interacting, but it still looks so silly. Like Grant Gustin doesn't do that.
I thought it looked
I don't know.
acrobatic. I thought it looked very.
I know.
Very elegant. I don't know.
It looks better in this cut than it does in the other cut, but it still bugged me.
Oh yeah, no, but the other thing too is to kind of go with what the animated series has done. Would you rather prefer him doing that or doing the thing that looks kind of silly? You know what I mean?
Real fast. Somewhere in between. I'm biased. I come from a long line of track and cross country runners, so I don't think you need to look silly.
Comes from a long line of. Oh, well, he introduced himself. Never mind. Hi,
Hello,
Maxwell.
Hey, Max.
Someone had to come save this mess.
Wow.
Oh, I'm kidding. Hello,
friend. We're talking about. I don't know if you've heard of it. Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I'm familiar.
Okay, so we got to hear from you then. We started up top about everyone's overall thoughts on it. So I'd like to hear your overall thoughts before we continue, because we only have Marisol for a little bit longer, so I want to make sure she gets to love on it some more.
Hi, Marisol. You're an incredible human being. I'm such a big fan. I love you. I want to get closer to you. I think we'll have a lot in common. I went to college in Philly, so we could talk about Philly. So much good stuff.
Yes. I send all that energy right back at you. You're a peach.
Woo. Okay, so briefest bit of context. When I first saw Man of Steel, I was disappointed. The second time I saw it, I fell in love with it. I had the same experience with BVS. The theatrical cut I was iffy on. The ultimate cut I really like, especially the Batman stuff. And I think Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons are like the perfect Bruce and Alfred relationship.
Yes.
I was curious but not excited for the Snyder cut because partly the theatrical cut was so weak. I didn't see how they could possibly improve it significantly. And because, and I think I heard you guys touch on this a little bit, whilst I'm not generalizing everyone in the fandom, there were certainly some elements of the Snyder Cut fandom who used tactics I don't agree with. That all being said, I fucking loved this. I was kind of blown away by how much I loved it. I was listening in my cab ride, and I think Andres said consistency of tone. Like, I think Snyder tone and the way it sort of makes this movie this larger than life mythological epic movie really makes it work and separates it from a good majority of other superhero cinema we've seen. And I really feel like this vision is what Snyder was building up to with Man of Steel and BVS, and this is the most fully realized version of his approach to the DC universe. And then on top of that, the way what's Harrison Wells? Who's the actor that does Harrison Wells?
Tom Cavanaugh.
Yeah,
Tom Cavanaugh saying "Funny run, Barry."
The other thing, and I don't know how far you guys went into it, the way it gets to dive into Victor Stone and Barry Allen in this movie is so beautiful. They feel like fully realized characters now instead of pawns in the original cut. And because of that, the Justice League in this movie feels like a team that has earned being a team.
Yes.
They don't have the benefit of 20 preceding movies like the MCU had with Infinity War and Endgame. That being said, that's why I'm okay with this being this 4-hour Lawrence of Arabia-esque epic, because it's doing the heavy lifting of multiple movies. And it works. Never once did I feel like it was too long because it was paced well. I've seen 90-minute movies that are paced poorly that feel like a slog. And for this, I'm like, this is fun. Let's keep watching more.
Can I ask that? I want to ask this. So I don't remember the exact timeline, but Wonder Woman came out after the original cut of Justice League?
No, before.
Before.
Right.
Wonder Woman came out in June.
Justice League.
Yeah, Wonder Woman came out in June of 2017, and Justice League, as some call it, was November of 2017. And I'll never forget because it came out the weekend I got married. So I saw it on Friday and got married on Sunday. So not a great start to that weekend.
It was my birthday gift, yeah. So
there you go.
Birthday.
Do you guys think that this movie gets a little bit of a bump from having a few more DC films come after it and kind of sandwich with with Wonder Woman 2 and with Aquaman.
The interesting thing is, for me, it's sort of reverse in that I feel some of what Aquaman explores, I now have a richer appreciation for because this sets it up better.
That's
the
what
relationship,
I mean. like that.
What we see with Mira, and let's not talk about Amber Heard's terrible accent. And thank God she didn't have to do in James Wan's film.
I don't disagree with this.
And let's also ignore Willem Dafoe's horrific hairpiece he's wearing in this movie, and also thank God James Wan didn't make him wear that wig. That being said, like the dynamics between Arthur Curry and the two of them, I think deepen the Aquaman movie and his initial struggle of not feeling like he fits in, and also explains more because this was the first time we really saw Aquaman. We didn't know his connection to Atlantis, that he knew some of these people, he had interactions with them, they knew, so it just deepens that for me as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jason Aquaman was much better in this film than in the previous one.
I was watching the latter half of Happy Hour last night with Marisol, and she was talking about how this is like the sexiest cast, which got me to thinking, like, okay, who in this cast am I most attracted to? And it's definitely Jason Aquaman.
Yeah,
I mean, he can just pour some baby oil on him and then let's go to town.
Yeah, but Jeremy Irons is also right there. That's all I'm saying.
PJ, we know you're into older men, but let Maxwell take his Adonis. His Aqua Adonis, if you will.
Whoever styled Jeremy Irons in the Snyderverse, the way that this Alfred is dressed is so impeccable. I think Saul said, I don't know if he tweeted it or what, the other day, that his life goal is to now start dressing like, and I'm like, you already do. You already wear vests.
He already dresses like Jeremy Irons. I wish I had the physique to dress like Jeremy Irons, but I don't. So
I love Adam.
And yes, Joey, Cavill could build my PC any day.
I would love to paint. I don't want to play Warhammer with Henry Cavill. That's all I'm saying.
I don't want to be discriminatory towards women. Gal Gadot is gorgeous. In her brief screen time, Kiersey Clemens is lovely.
Yes.
There's plenty of eye candy to go around for those like myself who are
also Ray Fisher,
proudly pansexual.
Yeah.
Well,
here's
cast is just sexy as hell across the board.
Speaking of casts that are sexy as hell, this group right here is already really amazing, but someone else has decided to join the fray. You guys love his music on the Movie Trivia Schmodown. His name is David B. What's up, David?
Hey, everybody. Hi. What's up? What are we talking about?
We are talking about.
Yeah, son.
Yeah.
What's that?
We sent you the link because we thought you knew what we were talking about.
David,
tonight.
It's been wonderful. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
David, it began with an idea.
No, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong
no, that's
film
not,
series.
That's the other. Okay.
That's the other film series.
The other one.
You know what I love? One of the other things, another big thing that I really do love about this movie. It's not one thing. It's an array of things. But part of Snyder's commitment to, part of his just commitment is just like the risks, like his how lofty, like his it's so ambitious. Like he swings swings as oh my gosh. He takes the biggest fucking swings he can in terms of purpose, in terms of philosophical weight, in terms of like thematic weight, and gravitas. And it makes these movies, it makes these characters, it just laces it just adds so much layer and depth and weight to all of these characters. And he's so committed to that. He's not just somebody who just cares. He obviously cares a lot about visuals. He's obsessed with these making masturbatory visuals, they really are. But he also just he just injects them with so much emotional depth and impact, and with his themes, like he respects each character on their own terms, but also like all of these characters in Justice League, he makes them part of just this bigger tapestry about these themes about grief, about loss, about redemption, about love. Like he puts so much weight on all of this stuff, and that is one of my favorite things about Justice League, thinking about it and tying in what he's choosing to show us, tying it in, knowing that he lost his daughter while he was making this movie.
Yeah.
And so knowing that and knowing how much of this he's dedicated to her and put into this for her, it makes everything, it just changed the lens of what I was looking at everything. Like, look at all the relationships, which I was thinking about. Obviously you feature, like, you're seeing a lot of characters like Lois and Martha dealing more with like their grief, like dealing with the loss, dealing with losing someone they loved who was that important to them. You have Snyder, who lost his daughter, showing us Silas, like showing us Dr. Stone dealing with losing his son and trying to bring his son back. Martha dealing with losing her son, and on the flip side of that, it wasn't just like the grief. He also just injects this entire movie with like just showing the bond between parents and their children, like Barry with his father, like, and the backbone of this movie is Cyborg's strengthening him, connecting with his father, like even in the face of loss and death and pain. It's crazy.
To your point,
the thing that
too. Oh, go ahead, Maxwell.
I was just going to say, to what Marisol was saying, the thing that thematically stuck out to me most about this movie is it's really about relationships between child and parental figure.
And also
and that runs with every character. Because when Superman is resurrected and he's at his fortress trying to decide what suit, he hears his father Jor-El, and he hears Jonathan Kent with Victor and his father, with Martha, like you were saying, even with Barry and his father. And
it's something that
everyone had some sort of issue. And then when the For Autumn comes up at the screen on the end, and you're sort of like, oh wow.
Well, and not just like also Batman and his like the faith.
Yeah.
That was the big thing that I think people are also overlooking, is that the Batman that you meet in BVS and Suicide Squad to the Batman here, who is like, Alfred, we have to have faith, and like this version of him that is putting aside the stuff that happened with his parents to believe in a bigger future, to believe in something better.
Not just his parents, but
Clark.
Well, but also we know that either Jason or Damian is gone.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like, so this Batman who has seen so much shit, to put all that aside and start to believe in faith and moving forward and being the best of us. Like,
I think Ben is so good in this movie, and the original cut did him such a disservice.
Oh, 100%.
Oh God. But you guys are touching on this, and the big thing that I really enjoyed between all the portrayals of all these characters was, as strong as they are by themselves in terms of what the thematic is, probably the biggest thing that stands out for me is how they lift each other up. Like not only do they work well by themselves, but there's small little moments here and there where you kind of go, oh, well, you know what? Yeah, that, like the Flash and the Cyborg scene, that is freaking fantastic. Or even the Flash and Aquaman, where right after Cyborg undergoes his big thing that happens later on in the film. There's that moment where Flash just talks to Aquaman and basically goes, well, I thought you didn't care. And he's like, I never said that. And it's just like, oh, that, like, those small little moments just showing you how these people independently, they can handle their own stuff, but it's really about how when they come together, they become something much more and they lift each other up. And I think that is a massive thing that's missing in a lot of these superhero movies, especially with, I mean, as much as I love the Avengers and all this other stuff, we don't get that much buildup with them in one film, if that makes any sense. It's still great, but I think with this one, they really nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
So, now, Marisol, David, you're sticking around for a bit. Marisol, I know you got somewhere to be. Anything else you want to make sure to say about this film before you have to leave? This is the big pressure.
There's nothing that can be
We're
said.
gonna give you a 7-minute monologue.
I mean, it's tying into what you guys said, what you're saying, Andres. Like it's some people have said like, oh, the Snyderverse is too serious. Why is it so dark? Why is it so like solemn? Like they need to crack a joke every now and then. It's like, look, like Snyder takes these characters very, very seriously. He takes it seriously. He's committed to them. He's committed to he takes it seriously for us. And there is a difference. There's a difference between tackling something and having like a very like approaching your work like in a solemn sense, which he does. He takes it seriously, but like to your point, like Andres, what you're just saying, like he takes it still because of how seriously he took the characters and took their connections to each other and them genuinely building their relationship and that trust with each other. That in turn, just because none of them gave like a quick, like a little quip and a wink at the camera, or none of them like spitfires, one-liners like Robert Downey Jr., does not mean that it's not inspiring and uplifting or puts you in a good mood. Think about it. Like everything, like you were just saying, like, yeah, that is the most. So when they did come together, that was the most powerful, uplifting, like truly, genuinely stirring shit that you can imagine. Like that is so earned and so authentic that I felt weightless in that, and I couldn't get that feeling from like, hey, we're like, hey, high five, like we're really cool, I'm gonna make a bunch of jokes, we're gonna punch some shit because we're superheroes, and like like this is really fun and this is exciting. Like you can't force like if you want to make like, just because you have something lighthearted, like and you approach that kind of story does not automatically mean that is going to be more inspiring or make somebody happier than like a Snyder approach where he takes it a very serious approach to it. I was lifted up more than I have, like, to your point, in seeing like a lot of superhero movies where the inspiration is very surface level. It's like, and that's what Whedon missed with his cut. He just saw it like, these characters were window dressing. It was just like, hey, let's just get these guys together. They make some one-liners. They punch shit. Like that's their bond. That's not inspiring at all. Nobody cares about that.
And it shows a lack of understanding on just about every part of WB and Whedon. Whedon's a monster. There's no taking away from that. But also WB also hired him to do the thing that they wanted.
Right. So like I feel like, and I know like Whedon deserves full credit for his hat job. He deserves credit for what he chose to do to Snyder, especially when you watch them side by side and thinking about all the things that he deliberately undid and put instead.
He tried to Marvelize Justice League,
which was totally a WB note, by the way.
Which doesn't make sense for what had been established prior and these versions of the characters. There's another universe where that's the tone and approach DC went for with this entire universe. But following in the wake of Man of Steel and BVS, to then jump to this sort of like, besides the fact that so much was cut, like this like jokey, silly tone, there was like an intellectual disconnect between what had come prior.
Yeah. And you're right, PJ. It was like that wouldn't have happened unless WB twisted his arm and told him they're the ultimate villains here. Like everything that happened is because of them. Like what you've been saying. Like like the man's daughter died. WB is like, nope, we need this. Like, look, we got to get this movie out. It's got to come out in November. We're not going to push this. We're not going to like. They think we wouldn't wait? Like, you think like we wouldn't fucking wait for it? Like, if they took the time, they just shelved it for a second until Snyder felt ready to come back to it. Like, you think, or at least have Snyder's people work on it. They're the real villains for starting this whole thing. 100%. But yeah, then you get things like Maxwell, like you're saying, like you get things where like. He takes these shortcuts. You twist his arm and he's going to make, and he did it was as terrible as you could have feared. Every bad decision he made, he could have made, he made. Another big one that really messes me up is, like I was saying, like it's powerful because they all come to this decision to revive Superman out of respect for each other. And one of the things I hated the most about the Whedon version is that they come together, they revive Superman for all the wrong reasons. Like you're saying, like Batman's the one bullying everybody into it. He's just like, I just feel guilty because I let him die. Like, like he's making it about that. He bullies Wonder Woman into that. Like Wonder Woman punches him because he makes that like just below the belt jab about Steve Trevor. And it's just like, and he's like, well, you're just like, pretty much like you're just pissed because you're just bitter because you lost somebody, you can't get over it. Like, like pretty much. It's just such a toxic thing to like form to center the group around. Like that's just so toxic. And it's bonding the group on the seeds of like contention, just hate, distrust, bitterness, complete
Fear.
lack of mutual respect, fear. It's just everything that the Snyder Cut is just not. Oh God, I could say so much about it. You guys know that when we were talking about Autumn as well, that song I love sharing this because when I found out it moved me a lot. So as if that rendition of Hallelujah in the credits isn't giving you enough goosebumps. That's the exact version. That singer, she sang that version at Autumn's funeral.
Yeah.
That's why
I remember
song.
when the first teaser for the Snyder Cut came out and it was set to Hallelujah and there was the normal like eye rolling or making fun from certain people, and like that was Autumn's favorite song. You can't ignore, say what you want about Snyder as a filmmaker. You can like him or not, that's up to you, but like you have to be compassionate towards what his family has been through.
Well, and
no one should have to bury their child.
It's also very clear after seeing this. It's also very clear after seeing this that he does everything with heart and with intention. He doesn't do anything without a reason.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing too is, you look at all the behind the scenes stuff with him and he's just so amped and so excited to be working on whatever it is, Justice League, Sucker Punch, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like you just feel that energy coming out of him and it's infectious to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And
PJ, Sucker Punch questions in the Schmodown when?
I mean, as soon as and again, like it's so funny because I started this saying that WB looks so foolish messing with Snyder, and then I had said twice. It's actually 3 times because Sucker Punch also was edited down by WB, and look, say what you will about
that
the movie.
Film's a mess.
That director's cut is still better though.
I haven't seen it.
I have never seen. I've heard about it. But I really do owe it. Like, I really do need to go back and go because, like, knowing everything that I know about Snyder and how much, like, his actual visions are the ones you can trust, like, and his theatrical products are usually like a hack job where they cut out the glue that he actually put to make his film mean something. They hack his films down so that they just look like a series of disjointed, like, unconnected, just like pretty much action. Like that's what happened with the theatrical cut of BVS. So unfortunately that's what like Sucker Punch kind of feels like. But now seeing what has been happening with all these Snyder movies since then, it gives me so much more faith to go back and revisit Sucker Punch because now I'm thinking about what movie was actually there.
I'm very curious if you watch it. Like, I'd actually love to have a conversation with you after because I think it's a better movie. I'm not going to say it's like a drastically better movie, but I still think it's a better movie overall because you can see what he was going for. And I think that the stuff that fleshes out is exactly what we talk about with both BVS and Justice League, especially, is that it feels more human. Like, I know there's a lot of people who, they look at it the way that they look at it. Sucker Punch is much better as a director's cut is basically what I'm getting at.
Oh yeah, no, and the same thing too with his first thing, Dawn of the Dead. Like Dawn of the Dead, they hacked up so much of the character stuff out of that original cut that when you watch the director's cut, it's a drastically different movie, and you actually not drastically different movie. It's a drastically different experience to care about all these characters and their interactions with each other. Again, we're talking about the interactions. It's different to see these people live and breathe in the film as opposed to just trying to get through a runtime nearly as fast as you can.
Just doing the greatest hits, like, hey, let's just pretty much movie clips this, like, let's just get the biggest, like the most action packed, sexiest parts of this movie. Like they keep reducing his films to that. And I don't know where the compromise is, because like either Snyder just needs to work with studios that are just going to let him. He needs to either just get the fuck away from WB and just work with studios that just let him just make his films. Like whoever makes Terrence Malick, lets Terrence Malick just make his movies. That's who Snyder needs to go make films for.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Snyder has a new movie coming out in a matter of weeks, really, and I'm really curious to see what Army of the Dead is like and how much freedom he had, because if I was him, I would not want to work with WB again.
No.
Unless somehow they're like, here's $400 million, go make Justice League 2 and 3, and we're going to leave you alone.
Right. But and I think, honestly, at this point, that's not a bad idea.
Nope. I think it's a great idea. Release them on HBO Max and then have the other DC stuff in theaters, and it's I don't know.
Well, all I will say in terms of that is I can understand if Snyder never comes back. I mean, especially with the fact that now there's a different head of Warner Brothers that was different from the regime about 3 or 4 years ago when the Whedon cut was released. But the other thing as well is with this in particular, or at least just with Snyder's experience with certain studios, Netflix is kind of really just letting him go as much as he wants. And then also on top of that, I mean, honestly, he's still involved with the DCU, but I feel that we should count our blessings, because getting even this is beyond my expectation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So real quick, we got to say goodbye to our friend Marisol. She has places to be that are not here with us, but I am so thankful you came on and hung out for a little bit, Marisol. It was such a treat.
It was. Likewise. I'm just happy you guys had me. I'm happy to share the love. Go Snyder Cut.
Yes.
So where can the people find you if they want to find you and you want to be found?
That therein lies, the dilemma, because I don't want to be found. But when I do, I do come out of my hermit hole sometimes. I pop up on sometimes I tweet. I pop up on Twitter. My handle is Marisol_Mariah, MIRIAH. I also probably am most active like on Letterboxd. Like I watch a lot of movies. For sure. Brandy knows. Hey, Brandy. I also pop on Letterboxd a lot because I watch a lot of movies, and I like to just keep track of my thoughts about what movies I'm seeing. So if you're interested in movie talk communities, find me on Letterboxd. It's the same handle as my Twitter, Marisol Mariah. Yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you so much for coming and hanging out, Marisol. It was simply a pleasure.
Yes, thank you guys. Have fun talking about Snyder Cut.
We will. Bye, Marisol.
Bye.
Take care.
Right.
And although we lose Marisol, we have gained one more member of our infamous Pajukan League. Welcome, Batman. Hi.
Hello. I can't hear you guys.
You can't hear us?
Can't hear anyone.
We can hear you.
You can't hear us. We can hear you. David B, how are you today,
that, man?
Yeah, unfortunately, David's been here about 20 minutes, and we haven't gotten his thoughts yet on the Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sir, talk while Tim Batman is.
David is like, that is true.
That is factual. I like it. All right.
David, what was your favorite piece of music in the Justice League?
Oh, the one with the horns in it.
Tim, can you hear us now? Oh,
no,
Tim is gone.
I was really just buying time for Tim. No, legitimately speaking, I have no idea what you guys talked about. I got home like 10, 20 minutes ago. But I legitimately love this film so much. I love it so much because for all the discussions I've had about BVS, I've always been up and down about that film because I've been a huge comic book fan, and my comic books of choice have always been DC. I've always read like Batman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and all that stuff. So BVS for me.
Books.
BVS for me has always been kind of like it's always been up in the air for me because like the theatrical cut, like say what you will about plot holes and stuff like that. The biggest issue for me was always Batman in that film, in the sense of like the whole ethos of that character is like he doesn't take human life regardless, because the most important human lives to him were taken from him. He doesn't want to do that to anybody else. So that's always been like a huge point of contention for me about that film. But Zack Snyder's Justice League makes BVS better for me, because like now it makes sense why he did it, and you can see the pivotal turning point for Batman. Even if I still disagree, like it's not really quote unquote Batman canon or whatever, it makes sense for what Zack Snyder is trying to say with Batman and the Justice League in a whole picture. And add on top of that too, like what everybody else have said so far, the bits and pieces I've been able to glimpse, like the character work is so great. Cyborg is probably the best part of Justice League. His whole storyline, his whole arc, his origin, what he goes through with his parents, specifically his dad, I think is marvelous, to the point where it like, yeah, it does feel like Whedon and like WB were deliberately taking that out to sabotage Justice League. It feels like almost, because why would you take out literally the most heartfelt part of your film and reshoot stuff that's stupid, like Flash falling on Wonder Woman? You know what I mean? Like it makes zero sense to me regardless. It just makes zero sense to me that you waste money on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, yeah, it's 4 hours, but like it flows surprisingly. Like, and I love, I've always been a Zack Snyder fan. Like 300 was like obviously the big one for me personally that I really liked, but I liked Watchmen a lot.
I did too.
I really liked his Watchmen a lot. So I was very excited when they were like, oh, he's coming back to DC, and guess what? Justice League. And I liked Man of Steel too. I actually really liked that movie a lot too. I like what he tried to say about Superman. Can he, like, you know, like Mar also said, can he be a little masturbatory with his scenes? Yeah, but that's kind of the fun about the way he makes his films and the way he shoots things and stuff like that. Like I always love the scene. I always love the scene in Man of Steel when Clark goes into a church. He's just like sitting there, and right behind him is like a huge silhouette of Jesus, and it's just blasting sunlight in there. And the priest is just like, "You're him," and it's like Jesus and Superman, and it's like, yeah, it's just hilarious to me. But like, I've always kind of liked it. It's like cheesy, but it's not like trying to be cheesy. Does that make sense? It's like an honest, totally modest cheese. You know what I mean? Which I really love. So
yeah,
and. Yeah, the movie's great. The action scenes were great. Aquaman, I feel like this is a better setup for that Aquaman film than Josh Whedon's Justice League movie. I liked Flash now in this film a lot. He didn't come off kind of gross and annoying as he did in that Whedonverse version.
Are you okay with the funny running?
Yeah. Oh, I heard you talking about the that. I was perfectly fine with it. I was okay with it.
That Tim, real fast, can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Yay!
Perfect. What were your thoughts on it?
So I actually didn't see Justice League until 2 days before Snyder's Justice League came out. When it initially came out, I was like, because of reviews, I was just in no rush to watch it, and then I just didn't watch it, and then I just kept not watching it. And then it was like, well, the Snyder Cut's coming. I should probably watch it. That way I can like have a comparison. So I watched it, and it was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was great. I didn't really remember much, and I thought it was really boring. I just didn't really care about anything in it that much. But I think this movie is a significant improvement. I also will say I also wasn't a fan of the theatrical cut of BVS, but I did like the Ultimate cut significantly more. And I like Man of Steel a lot, so that's kind of like my history with the Snyderverse. But I think this movie was great. I thought it was like it flew by. I didn't think it dragged. Significant improvement over the Whedon version of said film, and so many things I enjoyed. I'll just mention it now. My favorite part of the movie. I've only seen it once. I do want to watch it again. Actually, I'll probably watch it again this week. My favorite part is hands down the Superman returning to the ship and hearing Jonathan Kent and Jor-El talk and him selecting his suit and then the music. And I thought that scene was just incredible. I was watching the movie while Pat was watching the movie, and Pat was like 20 minutes behind me in watching. So I would just be like, "Oh man, this scene is like my favorite," and he'd be like, "Oh yeah," he's like, and I'd be like, "You'll know when you get to it." And then he would text me, he'd be like, "The ship scene, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, like we were literally within like 10-15 minutes of each other as we were watching it, and so every time he's like, "Dude, I just saw something so cool," and so I'd get to it and I was like, "Is this X thing you were talking about?" And he goes, "That is the X thing." And I think Maxwell and I were having similar conversations while it was happening too. So I was kind of loving, I'll be honest, like I'll say one thing. The COVID has sucked. We can all agree on that. The good things that COVID brought to us, though, was one, all of this. The channel wouldn't have existed without COVID. But more than that, like the friendships we made along the way, but also the Snyder Cut came out of the fact that COVID happened. WB decided this is a good time to put money into it to try to finish it because we can use it with HBO Max. And in that way, the release of the Snyder Cut is the most excited I've been about anything in a while. Like, I felt like I was ramping up for a theatrical screening again. Like, I was so excited to watch it. And so to share that love, even through text messaging while I was watching it with other people, was kind of great because I missed that. Like, I missed that feeling of being excited at a theater at midnight with people. And it kind of brought me back to that. And I was like, maybe the world is healing. And that was a really cool thing.
Can I say something maybe that's a little weird?
Yeah, of course.
So
weird, never.
Do it.
Look, obviously, in like a world of justice, Snyder got to finish this movie as originally intended. WB gave him time to take off and grieve his family, do what he needed to did. But I also feel like the version that we ended up getting now at 4 hours,
it's not the original cut.
He sort of got to feel confident just throwing whatever he wanted it in, knowing it was going straight to streaming, is not whatever his cut would have been before.
Yeah.
And so in some backwards way, I'm glad that this is what we got, because I feel like because of its length, and it's easy to say it's overstuffed, but I also think that makes it really special and unique in comparison to a lot of other similar blockbuster movies that we've gotten over the last 20 years, even ignoring superhero stuff. Yep. This thing is such its own thing. It has such a unique tone and visual style and grandeur to it, which, yeah, you can make fun of, but I just sort of got swept up in all of it. And the silver lining of the road that we got to the Snyder Cut is it's this like beautiful behemoth that is going to stand out as this really rare work of filmmaking that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And I don't know if we'll ever see anything quite like this again, because even if you're not hacking apart the movie like WB did initially, they're still not putting a 4-hour Batman movie in theaters. Yeah. I Endgame at 3 hours, I think, was about as much as these studios will push it. And that was after 20 some odd movies of audience goodwill.
Yeah.
I just want to say it's such a rare thing to see a big blockbuster movie where the director, his vision is 100% what he wanted to do, completely unfiltered, completely unhindered, completely uncensored. It's exactly Snyder even said, like, I went back and I added more stuff. So I was like, now that I have literally carte blanche to do whatever the hell I want, I'm going to make sure I make my vision. And that's kind of like, maybe you get that for like indie films, but like a big superhero blockbuster movie. When have we ever heard of like no studio interference, complete 100% creative freedom?
And that's why the movie this most reminds me of, and I'm not the first to say this, is Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it almost, even in the way it builds, in the way the team comes together, it feels like we're getting Fellowship and we're never going to get Two Towers of Return of the King.
Yeah.
Right. Which is okay. It's fine.
So I want to go back to something PJ said, but before that, I mean, the way I put it was, this film feels like we saw the movie version before we read the book, right?
Sure.
This is reading the book. This gives us the whole thing. But I do want to go back to something PJ said, and yeah, you have a point, right? Like something whenever I get a chance, I want to bring up, there have been some bright spots in COVID. I mean, prior to COVID, I was close to PJ. I didn't know Max. I had met David B in passing, and Tim Franco was the guy that kind of scared me with the mohawk. But and Andres, I like you, but I don't know you as well as I know the other panel members. So we'll get there. But with that being said, I just want to give a quick celebratory.
Yes.
To the Pajukan.
To the Pajukan. I only have 2 left.
And our 1-year celebration is in 2 days. 3 days.
3 days.
You mean this?
Yes, that one. Which, by the way, I can say it here. I'm going to announce this exclusively before we go any farther. We are going to be joined by quite a few people that you guys all know, but I was actually reached out to today by one Mr. Movie Trivia Schmodown, champion of the world, Adam Collins, who would love to be on with us. And I said, dude, all you have to do is ask for the link. You're always invited. I fucking love Adam Collins.
I'll just send him the link.
Yeah, and so Adam Collins will be joining us, as well as Marisol McKee, and quite a few others along the way. And David, you were already invited.
David's performing live, I think.
I believe so.
Am I?
Yeah, you are. I believe.
If you want, sure.
That wasn't fine. Okay.
You don't have to, but if you'd like
to. Anyone else to announce that's going to be on?
You just, I will.
There's a lot of people who love.
I'll say a few. I'll announce a few.
I'll be there.
Well, yeah, I'll be there. Sean will be there. I do believe we'll be having an appearance by Video Drew.
Ooh.
Which is always fun. I do believe we will be joined by the movie guys.
I believe so.
Both of them.
I love that.
I think if we're having
What's
a party,
your opinion on Preston?
Yeah, what do you think of Paul?
I love Adam Wind.
I've met him once. Sweet guy, but I've
Marcus will be there.
Befriended Adam Wind.
And you can't have a party without some people being late to it. If you know what I mean.
Love late to the party too.
Yeah.
Quick side story. Spectacular 4. They actually let me put my guitar in their trunk because we all went drinking afterwards.
There you go.
I'm putting my guitar in.
I would just like to say, David, that you could put your guitar in my trunk anytime you want.
Can I make one of the announcements?
Yes. Oh, meanwhile, we were literally just talking about late to the party.
Me taking booking lessons from Harlow. I'll say this: we're gonna.
Who are you actually taking booking lessons from?
I'm actually taking them from you, but more importantly, I'm also a fan of this person. I think everyone's a fan of this person. We can say to you guys that if you are a fan of going to your produce aisle. And you see a list of things that you need to get, and one of them is baby carrots. Mm-hmm. Mark Ellis will be with us on Wednesday.
Yes.
What?
Yes. So Wednesday night's going to be a party, let me tell you. Just like this.
Are you guys hearing something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, it's all in my head.
Oh. Okay. I don't hear anything.
Yeah, the voices are talking to me again, so, it's all good.
I pick up a radio frequency for an all salsa radio. So,
but yeah, man, we've got quite the selection of individuals for Wednesday's absolute nonsense shenanigans.
And that's only like an infinitesimal number of the guests we have lined up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and guys, I don't want to speak too soon, but we also have some announcements coming up at the end of the month.
We do.
And I think you guys should be very excited. We have a whole new slate of shows. We're going to be revitalizing the network a little bit. We could feel it dying. We could feel you guys getting bored. So I promise you, end of the month, Maxwell and I will announce the new slate of shows. I think PJ is going to join us.
Yeah, I'll be there. Don't worry. There's a slate.
We have some new shows featuring some new people, new faces. David B is going to be involved in one of them. Tim Franco is going to be involved in one of them. Andres is also on this list.
Should we tease them about one right now?
Yes, I think.
So, it's no secret that many of us.
I should say all 4. Are you teasing what I think you're teasing?
No. So it's no secret that many of us here at the Pajukan are canine lovers. Mm-hmm. I have a female dog. PJ has a Mabel. So one of our new shows is Who's That Bitch?
Mm-hmm.
a monthly show where we do a deep dive documentary look into the lives of the various dogs of the Pajukan.
And look,
who's that? Eat your heart out, National Geographic.
I just want to say,
Gallifrey is a boy.
That's true.
Who cares?
Like, look, the truth is,
he's a gal to me.
The truth is that I pitched a wheel slice to Christian this season, which was who's that bitch? I wanted it on the wheel. Who's that bitch? It was turned down. We found a better way to understandably. No shade at Christian.
But when you come up with the phrase "who's that bitch," you need to find another context in which to use it while also not getting anyone upset.
Exactly.
So episode 1 will be all about my bitch Luna. She's an 11-year-old Jack Russell Chihuahua mix. She's recently been prescribed twice a day anti-anxiety medication, and it's as if she's a puppy again. So if that interests you, stay tuned for episode 1 of Who's That Bitch?
It's almost like she's human too, needing anything that's, dealing with anxiety like the rest of us. So, we really stand
so much already.
My dog and I are literally on the same anti-anxiety medication. Literally.
The world.
Sometimes I go to take it and I'm like, oh no, that's the dog's.
Yeah, it's too much.
Man's best friend.
Anyways,
my dosage is higher.
So, is this us transitioning to the end, or do we got more to say about Justin?
Tim's barely even gotten to talk yet. We got to let him in, David.
I wanted to shout out something. So, Robert from Late to the Party in their first reaction video. I haven't watched the rest of them yet, but they posted their first reaction video. Go check it out. Late to the Party's YouTube channel. Anyways, they're on the road. They're on the road to 100,000, by the way. So.
Yeah, we fucking love Late to the Party here. They rock.
But Robert brought something up that I didn't realize in my first. I didn't realize on my first watch. But you guys know who the cop was, right? At the memorial.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, Jimmy Olsen.
Jimmy Olsen, which was so good. I didn't realize that at first. So I'm glad that I had Robert to point that out to me. I completely missed it. I loved it.
I like that too because, and I think this is only in the ultimate cut where the Jimmy Olsen we see in BVS gets a little bit more time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And I still felt like it was just a CIA agent using Jimmy Olsen as a name, that he wasn't actually Jimmy Olsen. So I would love to see, however the DCEU ends up continuing, like maybe in Flash, if the real Jimmy Olsen please stands up, that would be cool. See what I
don't know if anyone's mentioned this, but I really love the scene. I mean, all the stuff with Cyborg, all the added Cyborg stuff was great, obviously. But I really love the scene that showed him where he was like helping out that mother and like at the ATM, and he he's seeing how the world kind of works and what he can do and how he can improve someone's life. And I thought that was just a great look into his character as a person in terms of the character.
And a genuinely heroic moment.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was so good. It's like, I don't know why you even want to cut that out. Like, why?
If I could, I would buy a Victor Stone Gotham City University football jersey right now if it was for sale.
Have you looked?
Yeah. It might be on the DC merch store, actually.
Maybe.
I mean, I feel like that will, if it's not already, it will be eventually on sale.
Yep.
Just saying.
Are they Division 1? I only like Division 1 schools.
We'll find out.
It's Gotham City. Gotham City.
Liz was just asking me a question.
I thought you were doing a bit because you're like,
it's big enough to be Division 1.
No, Liz was. Well, the funny thing now is this is now two different Batman Gotham universes where we see different football teams, because obviously in The Dark Knight Rises we saw a professional team, and then this is college, and we know Clark in some iterations played for Smallville High, certainly on the Smallville show.
In BVS though, we also do see Gotham City versus Metropolis. The cops.
Oh, you're right.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. And Gotham destroys Metropolis, right?
Like handedly, like Gotham.
Yeah, it was like not even. Well, and on Superman and Lois now, there's some football stuff.
Like Gotham is like the Texans of the DC universe.
So I don't know if this was talked about because
Alabama.
what did everyone think about the aspect ratio? Was this
I
discussed?
didn't mind it.
Wasn't.
Oh, we
No,
didn't
I-
actually-
I didn't mind it at all.
I mean, honestly, I didn't even notice it until I every now and then, but mostly I didn't notice it because I was so into the movie.
Yeah, I noticed it. I noticed it right at the start, but I forgot about it.
Yeah, because they tell you right at the start, this movie is in 4:3 to not blah blah blah. Zack
And
Snyder's
it felt really pretentious, but like I did watch a breakdown of like why it's like that and kind of comparing the shots, and it makes sense. It's fine. You know, I don't want every film doing that, but it looks good.
No, and this is a particularly special case with this one is because this was meant to be released in IMAX, and of course there was meant to be a cut that condensed it down and stuff like that. But if Snyder only had one way to show this, that to me was fine. I was surprised by the big outcry they came with it, where it was like, oh my god, it's squared. It's like, where was all these people, especially within our circles, that were complaining about this? That was like, wait a minute, where were you when what was that Wes Anderson movie that came out? Grand Budapest Hotel. Where were you?
The Lighthouse.
Yeah, the
Lighthouse too.
Absolutely. I mean,
I think part of the issue is everyone now has got their 4K TVs and their big, 80-inch TVs and stuff like that. Like, and also I think a blockbuster is a lot different than a smaller film like a Wes Anderson film or something. So I understand. I understand. Like, I don't think it's right to compare those, and also like, yeah, I think there's a certain level of pretension behind it. Like I said, it didn't bug me in any of that, but I could see some people looking at it with a certain level of like pretentiousness and all that, because it's like, oh, this is to maintain the artist's vision, whatever. Like, okay, it's a superhero movie. Give me a superhero movie.
I kind of loved the pretension and like visionness of it. Like that's
I
one of
did
the
too.
things. One of the things that like I said, this movie sort of swept me away is like how clear this was a guy who was just like, I'm gonna do what I want and no one's gonna tell me no.
Exactly what I fucking
exactly, yeah.
And I liked the aspect ratio. I mean, it was, I read an interview with Zack Snyder where it's funny. He said he fell in love with Kelly Reichardt's film First Cow, which was one of my favorite films last year and which was shot in Academy ratio. Which is basically what this is. Mm-hmm. So whether or not that was a direct influence, I think it somehow worked for this world he created.
Well,
I would love, maybe this summer if they did like a 1 week only exclusive IMAX only run, because I would go watch all 4 hours of this on an IMAX.
And we
screen.
have to remember too, like where IMAX is shot. Real quick to Maxwell's point, and Andreas, sorry, I feel like you and I are on the same page. I'm going to be there fucking day one if they do that.
Yes, absolutely.
But what I was going to say too is that the aspect ratio of Academy is the closest at the time to IMAX, if you can.
Yeah.
And so the way that the movie was shot for IMAX. So when he was putting it together, he looked at it and he even said, he was like, hey, maybe I can do it this way. And I thought it was very cool.
Mm-hmm. So he shot it on 35 millimeter, but he used lenses and a camera framed for 4:3, like you said, is the closest you can get to true IMAX. I'm not talking about like the digital or laser IMAXs that
we're talking the real
now.
IMAXs,
the full 60-foot IMAX screen. I actually found it quite immersive.
I did too.
It was no different. I mean, no different to me than when you have black bars in the top and bottom because you're watching something in widescreen as opposed to anamorphic widescreen. After the first minute, it's just that became it. And I found it really, and the one shot, there's only one shot where the aspect ratio stood out to me, and it's towards the end, and it's like the money shot of all of them standing on the bridge.
Oh.
And, you can imagine how cinematic that would look in widescreen, but the way the camera had to continue to pull back to reveal all of them, there was something really cool about that.
Well, and
by the time you got to all of them, it gave them like a sense of mythological proportions.
Right. It gives them a certain height that you can't get on that other ratio.
And it's something we don't talk about a lot. And it's something that Maxwell, you and I had both said it while we were texting back and forth. I don't know, Tim and I might have too, but I said it to you specifically. The thing that I loved about Justice League and all of these movies leading up to it, the way that Snyder did it, and it was a thing that I didn't realize that I liked until I really dug into the movies, was that these are mythological films. It's very different than a standard superhero movie. He was doing something that was taking these characters and making them godlike. And that was so cool because they are. Like, the DC characters are very different than the Marvel characters. Marvel characters are very, like, street level, they're real people. Peter Parker is someone that you relate to. The X-Men are people that you can relate to, so on and so forth.
Other than Thor, who is a literal god.
But even in the comics, he wasn't. Yeah. He was living on Earth.
No, I know. I'm joking.
Yeah. No, you're right, though. You're right. But you know what I'm saying. And Superman and them are not.
The way he frames his characters in this movie especially, because I also did watch BVS or Ultimate Cut earlier this week. The way he frames them, the angles, some of the close-ups, and then the positioning of the camera makes them feel godlike. That's intentional.
Oh yeah.
These are Superman especially, but these characters are, Zack Snyder feels they are worthy of reverence.
It very much felt like Greek mythology, but a modern take of it.
Well, they even go to the lengths of comparing them to Ares and Poseidon and Zeus.
Dude, Ares is in the film with Zeus.
Yeah, which by the way, which is great.
And what a monkey Green Lantern, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's some sort of alien.
That was awesome. But there's the whole scene in I'm gonna say this wrong. Themyscira, which is about double the length of the scene as we saw it in the original cut, and it brings so much more weight to those stakes and that scene. Not just more epic in the battle, but in the morality and the emotion behind it, with the Queen trying to protect the mother box, with all of that stuff. These little choices just of extending scenes that were chopped down gives it all so much more weight.
Not only that, but we also understand now what the mother boxes actually are. Whereas like in Whedon's Justice League, it was just like, oh, they're mythical boxes.
Understand what they are, but also why they came to life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like this movie,
even better. Like BVS directly influences this film in such a poetic, beautiful way that we just don't get with Joss Whedon.
This movie, and we're in full spoiler territory here, folks. This movie from the basically first frame shows that it's Superman's death that allows the mother box to wake up, because Steppenwolf is no longer afraid to go to Earth because he was afraid of Superman. And that's the other thing this cut does, is like, oh, the villain has an understandable motivation.
Well, what's funny is they make him look less human.
Yeah.
And do a better job of humanizing.
Do a better. Yeah. And the fact that Darkseid is here, and the relationship, and like basically Steppenwolf is ET. All that motherfucker wants to do is get home.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, now I understand why he wants the mother boxes. He wants to impress Darkseid. I get it. Sure, the mother boxes are still a MacGuffin, but at least they're a MacGuffin that is explained properly.
Now, Maxwell, I've gotten everyone else's opinion on this except for you. How do you feel about the funny running?
I love it. I thought it was great. One of my favorite scenes in the movie is the first scene we see with Flash, where he's applying for the job and he has to save Iris West. I thought that scene was like perfectly whimsical and magical, even down to the floating like slow-mo hot dogs. I was like, yes.
I thought I was really concerned about what he was going to do with those hot dogs, but you know what?
Can I also say how happy I was that, like, we haven't talked a lot about the stuff that was added. I mean, we've talked a lot about the stuff that was added. There was a few things in the Whedon cut that, don't get me wrong, I missed. I thought that the Batman thing where just save one was great. That was a great moment that I wish was in the movie. That's not like a dig at Snyder. That was one of the best moments that was added to the theatrical cut. I watched them both pretty close back to back.
What was it?
The other thing,
there's a scene when they're underground before the first fight with Steppenwolf, And Barry doesn't know what to do, and Batman tells him, just save one. Like, he's like, I don't know how to be a hero. And Batman's like, save one person.
Yeah.
Just save one. And it's a great moment. But to that point, I was very glad, Maxwell, I'll let you talk after. Sorry.
No. Fine.
The sequence before Barry sees his father, I'm so glad was missing, which was the scene where he's sitting at the jail and he's going to sign in, and the dude is talking to him, and the guy behind him starts insulting him, so he draws the scribbly face on him. Like, stuff like that was so unnecessary, and I was very glad it was missing.
Well, that feels like that scene felt like it was a direct response to Quicksilver.
I agree, but I'm just saying I was glad it was gone.
Oh, God, I have so many things I want to say now. So, okay, I'm going to backtrack. So you were talking about what you miss from the Whedon cut. I don't miss this, but the only thing that the Whedon cut had that I'm shocked wasn't a Zack Snyder thing, because I think it aped Zack's style so much, is like the opening montage of the world in mourning.
And
that felt
song.
So much to me like something directly out of Watchmen.
And BVS.
Now, of course, keeping in mind that, that sequence also has some of the terrible mustache removal shit they had to do with Cavill because of Mission Impossible.
That also may have been a Snyder thing that got aped by Whedon, and he just decided this cut didn't need it.
Well, it's so funny because I actually really like that song too, and it reminded me of the opening of BVS, where you're seeing Bruce's life through the vantage point of everything. And it's funny because in that moment, one of the there's just so many things, but in watching that sequence back, some of the footage of Lois walking to the memorial is in that sequence used differently.
It's well, it's indicative of everything that Whedon did with the original cut, whereas you include some of the stuff that's Snyder's and you include some of the stuff that he shot, and you kind of intersperse the two together, and it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough to tell apart at certain points, but I mean, right before this cut came out, I actually tried to do an entire dissertation on Zack's style and his framing and his focal points whenever it comes to how he films certain things. And there are clear indicators that show you exactly how Whedon shoots certain things and how Snyder does certain things.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Because if you
Pun
notice,
intended?
oh yes, exactly. Yeah. But if you notice, in the Whedon cut, some of the things are kind of framed a little off. It has a very, for lack of a better word, TV director framing, if that makes any sense. Whereas with the Snyder cut, you literally could pause any frame of that film and it just looks epic in scale and it's cinematic in its own way. Whereas, and that's not a knock on Whedon or anything like that. Or sorry, that's not a knock on whoever did the directing and photography for all the reshoots, but it's just one of those things where it's a particular style. But like in going what you were saying, where you're like, oh, I'm kind of shocked that this wasn't Snyder or that this was Whedon. It's like, yeah, no, I mean, to a certain extent, someone's style is easy to ape or mimic.
Well,
and, yeah.
Similarly to that, there are some things in here that I assumed were Whedon that are obviously Zack. Like the one that stood out to me is when they're meeting J.K. Simmons Gordon up on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And they all disappear, and then the Flash is still standing there. He's like, oh, I guess I'm still there. That to me felt very much like Whedon, and yet obviously it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And there's also another shot that's in the first San Diego Comic-Con trailer where Bruce is meeting with Aquaman for the first time, and basically Bruce goes, Arthur Curry, I hear you can talk to fish. Like that felt like very much like a studio-handed line to sort of make it a little funnier, and it kind of seemed like as if Snyder was just like, well, I had to shoot that just to appease Warner Brothers, but no, that's not in my cut.
I still feel like the line could have worked within the confines of what Snyder was doing, but you're not wrong.
Snyder's camera is a lot less leering than Whedon's.
Yes, it is by a lot.
Well, okay, so I want to talk a little bit about sort of like the heist scene with Wonder Woman and the kids.
Yes.
Which is so much better edited and shot in this. That's one of my favorite scenes. But like the best part of it is the tag at the end where the little girl is like, I want to be like you or whatever. And Wonder Woman goes, you can be anything you want to be. That to me
And she
is the
calls her-
message
and she
of the
calls her princess.
princess. That to me is like the crux of the scene, and that wasn't in the theatrical cut.
But also,
I'm like, that's so beautiful, and that's to
Yep.
me, that's a superhero.
the other thing
That's
that
being a hero.
the Justice League version that was released also has a line that was cut that I appreciate being cut. Was there's right after she throws the bomb out and it's going to go the other way, you hear the guy go, well, this could have been done quickly. And that's when he's loading the gun. And I was really glad that was cut out because the sequence plays out so differently where instead of saying that, he grabs the one gun, he's going to do something, and then he realizes, no, I can just grab this other gun that'll spray all of you at once. And it plays out so differently intentionally.
Yeah.
For sure. Another thing I wanted to point out too that I really love, again, I'm a huge Batman stan, so getting to see Bruce Wayne interact with Alfred was like getting more of that actual dynamic.
There's a
and
lot.
that relationship.
Well, and I love too when all of the other characters meet Alfred, the way they interact with Alfred is so on brand
My
for
favorite-
them. That was
My favorite
so
was
lovely.
Aquaman. Alfred, badass. That was just the best.
I also love that we actually get, it's a little bit, we get some actual character from Alfred, particularly the team making scene with Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Oh, that was great. I
That
love
was
that.
so good. I was just like, those are the, like the
that-
action sequences are great, but those are like the moments that really stick out to me in the film are these little like moments of like just character work.
Well,
And,
also,
and you get who they are now.
that whole sequence, number one,
Yes.
yeah, where she's making her own tea and he's like a little weird about it, was great. The comedy was awesome.
Yes.
But more than that, like the other thing about that sequence in the theatrical cut, she has like an entire conversation with Cyborg that is no longer there because she's talking to him through the computer and it's been cut out. The only thing he says is "meet me here," and that was so much better.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, because you assume that someone who's plugged in is Cyborg, that he's not, that if someone's going to go out looking for him, he's going to know immediately right off the bat, and that also plays into the fact that he purposely met with her. He didn't like sneak up on her. He didn't like look at her over at the lake for like 2 or 3 days or something like that. It wasn't nearly as mopey or emo as it was in the original cut. It felt more like Cyborg was proactive as a character and actively seeking people out who were in turn looking for him as well.
So Reefism, and I'm glad he asked this because I want to talk about it. Is Jeremy Irons Alfred everyone's favorite version of the character? I think the interesting thing for me with Alfred is more so than a lot of other DC characters. He's really malleable. I think you can shift Alfred to work with that version of Batman. But what I felt like is, to me, Jeremy Irons Alfred reminded me the most of the Alfred from the TV show Gotham.
I was going to say the same.
Yeah.
Like I could see that Alfred growing up to this Alfred, which is so different from what Michael Gu did in the Burton films and so different from what Michael Caine did. And I love both of those interpretations, but there's something about this Alfred that's so badass.
I think
even to the point that Bruce at one point says, "I work for him."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, kind of.
I do think this is my favorite version of Alfred, and it's kind of interesting. I think this is my favorite version of a lot of characters, you know. Like it's probably my favorite Batman. I'm going to be honest with you. It's it's not my favorite Flash, but it's definitely my favorite Joker, you know. Let's talk about the Joker, guys.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
before we go to the Joker, I just wanted to say, like, Jeremy Irons Alfred, because I really do like Christopher Nolan's Alfred.
I do too.
But that one felt more like a caretaker. Where this one, it did feel more of like that father-son dynamic and the banter they have.
Yeah,
And
because
the
he's
way-
taking care of him. Like,
Yeah.
he was his father.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
in Christopher Nolan's trilogy specifically, especially the ending more than anything, it really just felt
Well,
more like he was a glorified character.
I agree.
Well,
No, but I'm
yeah.
agreeing with you too. Yeah.
This Alfred also almost feels like a combination of Alfred and Lucius Fox.
Yeah.
In that he like helps him operate the tech. He's familiar with all the different cars and vehicles and all that stuff, which is cool. Like this is
Absolutely.
like, and I don't know if any of you guys have watched the TV show Pennyworth.
I've seen a handful of episodes,
which I like. This Alfred also feels to me like he could have come from that place because that's like a very actiony spy type Alfred. So it makes sense to see him like this. He doesn't always have to be the stodgy butler.
I was under the impression that was the Gotham like the prequel to the Gotham Alfred. So.
Pretty much, yeah. And I think those three versions line up. And now I can't wait to see what Andy Serkis does.
Yeah,
dude, right?
Because what a great choice for Alfred.
I think Serkis is going to get an action sequence. I really hope so.
Timmy, what do you think?
Yeah. About what?
Alfred.
About the Joker.
I think he's probably this is probably my favorite. I would say Alfred Bruce dynamic, and I think he's probably my favorite Alfred. I need to watch the movie again for sure. But I do like him a lot. I really like Michael Caine too, though, a lot. I feel like Michael Caine brings a lot of emotion to the character.
Yeah,
he does. Legitimately, and then also too, we spent more time with.
Why do we fall, Master Bruce? So we can learn to pick each other back up.
Oh my God! See, everybody quotes that scene, the "Why do we fall," which is amazing in its own right. But for me personally, the one scene that I watch, that whenever I watch Batman Begins, that always gets me, is the scene where Bruce, as a child, is blaming himself for his parents' murder, and then that very moment where Alfred just comes up and says, it was not your fault at all. In fact, it was him alone. And then they hug each other, and then Bruce says, I miss him. And then Alfred comes back and says, so do I. Like, you've never seen that type of emotion in Alfred before.
And I also I love in Dark Knight Rises where Alfred is like, I've buried enough members of the Wayne family. I don't want to bury another one. So there's such different takes on the character. It makes it hard to compare. And I think the different takes work really well in conjunction with who's playing Batman and the style of the films.
Absolutely.
I think this Alfred, what I like about this Alfred understands the necessity.
You also have to realize this Alfred is an Alfred that's gone through a whole lot more than the Michael Caine Alfred.
Yeah.
With Batman, because this is the older Batman who's gone through 20 years of working in Gotham already. Because they mentioned that.
It's a good point.
And this Alfred, to a certain extent, seems more jaded than Bruce. To a certain extent, even Bruce is kind of in BVS. Alfred is trying to bring up Bruce and basically go, "No, this guy is not our enemy. You are going after the wrong person." And to kind of flip that in the very end of this film, where he's like, "Well, how are you sure he's going to show up?" Faith, Alfred, faith. Like to see those roles reversed and to see how these two have balanced one another, it's a very interesting take for Alfred, and it's also just one of those things that harkens back to the Batman Earth One graphic novels. If you guys haven't checked Earth One out at all, it's a great retelling of Batman's origin story, but in sort of setting it in the modern day, in the modern era, and really focusing on the detective work. It's fantastic. So yeah.
Yeah,
are there pearls?
But more importantly, how does everyone feel about this Joker? Because am I vindicated?
Okay.
But to Andre's point, like in the comic books, and one last part, and then we'll talk Joker for real. In the comic books, like especially like Scott Snyder's run on Batman and Death of the Family, they kind of show how like Alfred is like the thing that kind of holds the Bat family together, and you can kind of see that dynamic starting here in Justice League with how like everyone immediately respects Alfred and kind of looks at him as like that kind of father / caretaker figure. It's like hints of it here that you don't really get with other Alfreds.
Even when when Superman, when Kal-El shows up in his black suit, which by the way was 100% the right choice.
So
that black suit's incredible.
It's so badass.
Shows up and Alfred I pre-ordered that hot toy.
Guys, my birthday's coming up.
The Nightmare Batman. Luckily they have a payment plan, so I'm just paying $50 a month. But when he shows up to Alfred and Alfred's like, he said you'd come, I got full body chills. I was like, this is perfect.
And especially hearing the score come back, the Man of Steel reprise, it's one of those things where I mean, so many people go, oh well, you know what, the John Williams score is more iconic, but for this version of Superman, the minute you hear those those small little notes in the piano key. You can't help but just feel.
Never would have thought anyone would write a Superman score to rival John Williams. And what Hans wrote in Man of Steel and has continued on now rivals it because it's so different in approach. It's not like a bombastic orchestral fanfare. It's not like patriotic. It's like ethereal and almost alien and moody and so uplifting in its own way. It's so great. Yeah, it's epic.
It's more of a Clark Kent theme more than anything else.
Yeah. Like there's when he comes back to the farm on Smallville and is hugging his mom and you hear it playing there. So I want to talk about one thing if we're talking about Martha. So we see the scene where Martha goes to talk to Lois.
Oh.
And then it's revealed that it was Martian Manhunter.
John Johns, yeah.
It was
John
Agatha
Johns.
all along. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong show.
So first of all, when I first saw Man of Steel and that character was introduced and that actor who I like and I've seen him in a lot of things, I was like, he is definitely Martian Manhunter. I had no doubt in my mind.
Really?
And that might also just be because, I don't know. It just Harry. What is it? His name is Harry Lennox. Is that right?
Harry Lennox.
Yeah.
Which, real quick, what's so funny is I saw him come out, that actor, on stage at Comic-Con to announce BVS. Because when they announced the movie at BVS or at Comic-Con, they had him read a line of dialogue from The Dark Knight Returns, which was the setup between Bruce and Clark. So the fact that this has come full circle in that way was very exciting for me.
Yeah. I didn't love that. I'm going to agree with Jacob in the chat here. I didn't love that scene because, I think it does kind of take something away from that relationship between Martha and
I don't
Lois.
disagree.
Fuck.
Yeah,
but I think it's cool that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I enjoyed the awkward silence for a minute.
I think
it's cool.
Anybody up for a little mouth organ?
Yes, I understood that reference.
I think it's cool they are including him, but I don't think that scene was necessarily the one to do it on.
Yeah, so I brought it up partly because I think I love that Martian Manhunter's here. I think the scene at the end is great. I loved seeing Batman wake up. I like seeing him at peace. Ben looked fantastic. It was clear that when this was shot in terms of Ben's body. But one of my minor gripes with this is having it revealed that it was John Johns as Martha talking to Lois in some ways diminishes the emotional impact of that scene.
Yeah, a little bit.
For Martha, it takes it away from Martha because I like that Martha had that agency and that they were staying close together. It doesn't ruin anything for me. It's fine, but I'm not sure that was needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and it also adds to that scene where Clark and Lois all see each other for the first time, and she has that one line where she's like, "Is it really you?" It's like, I don't know why, but that scene always gets to me, and it's so well done. And to have Martian Manhunter show up in that particular moment kind of felt a little shoehorned, and it kind of felt a little off in terms of tone. But it's not something where for me it's a minor nitpick at best. But it's not what I would have done.
It's a very like comic booky moment for sure. But in terms of like the movie itself, I think that scene would have hit a little more if it was just the two of them having an honest human moment instead of it being like, oh, it's John. The ending we get with John is perfect with the Martian Manhunter. That should have been it.
If that was it, I think it would have played a little better.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I understand that. I think Zach wanted to set up the fact that Martian Manhunter is here before that final scene, but I think there could have been another way to do it because, like Jacob said, he's right. Bless you. One of the few things that was actually actively reshot for this Snyder Cut was the stuff involving Martian Manhunter. So when that scene was first written, that even wasn't the intent of it for it to have been John Johns. So
sorry. Go ahead, Andreas. Go ahead.
No. Well, from certain things that have gone around and stuff like that, apparently the Martian Manhunter scene was actually meant to be the lowest. That was actually supposed to be meant to be at the very end of the film. John Johns basically goes up to Clark and Lois and reveals himself. Not that he doesn't go to Bruce Wayne, which to me makes a little more sense in terms of the world. In terms of giving this back to Superman as he was ground zero for this entire franchise.
Can I give a minor nitpick as well?
Yeah.
I don't like that he says, "Some have called me the Martian Manhunter." I think he should have gone, "Some have called me John Johns."
Yeah.
Some who call me Tim.
Like, there are some who call me Tim. Because here's the thing. If you're trying to go to Batman and say, "I'm your ally, but I'm known as the Martian Manhunter," you don't sound very friendly to me.
Batman's like, "Well, I'm a man."
Or one way they could have even addressed that name is basically just what if Bruce Wayne, he has files on every single metahuman on Earth. He might have found something on John Jones at a certain point in time, and so you just do the whole freaking Lex thing where he's like, "So what do I call you? I've seen certain things. Do you still take that name, Martian Manhunter?" And then basically you just had John Jones going, "No, that's a stupid name. My friends call me John."
Yeah, and that's or he could have just said, "Some have called me the Martian Manhunter, but you can call me John."
Yeah,
that's it.
That would be such like a funny thing where it's like you expect this thing to have like a different name. And he's like, "Well, my friends call me John." That's it.
Yeah.
What if
that would have felt like a Snyder? That would have felt like a Snyder comedy moment right there. I would think.
Timmy, what do you got?
I'm not in the chat to make a stupid joke, so I'm going to make it right now. What if his name was Martha Manhunter?
Why did you say that name?
Why did you say that name? Well, Martha in other universes. Martha in other universes was the Joker at a certain point in time. So, do we want to get into the Joker eventually?
Let's get into the Joker, guys.
That's very true. Which comic book is that? It's a Flashpoint. They show that, or
the Flashpoint Paradox? Yes.
Let's end tonight's episode by talking about the Joker.
The ending. We're talking about the ending. We're ending the episode by talking about the ending. That makes the most sense.
We live in a society where we're never going to speak about the Joker.
So here's the thing. I think Jared Leto is wonderful casting for the...
Please leave this office.
Do we get any sort of souvenir?
Get out of my office!
No, we should have actually ended. I'm mad now.
I was like, "Oh my god!"
I was low key hoping we were going to just end it, and that would have been so funny.
Oh man,
too good.
Lost opportunity.
What?
No, I saw Max.
Jipper wants to say something about Joker. Apparently, he's very excited, and now he's gone. Okay.
Can I just say I told you so?
Fucking internet.
He's a good Joker so long as he doesn't have damage tattooed on his head.
I agree.
Also, a more competent director directing him helps.
Well, here's the thing: is that when they first revealed, that Jared Leto was cast as the Joker, I was like, "Holy crap! That is actually amazing casting!" This was coming out of he had just won the Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club, and I was just thinking about that actor playing the Joker and knowing exactly what he does to prepare for a role. It was like, holy crap! All right, that
he did a little too much to prepare for this role in Suicide Squad, though.
Oh yeah, well, absolutely. Well, that's not discussing any of that stuff, but the small stuff that he would do in terms of like the preparation, in terms of like when he was at concerts, he would throw different variations of the voice, just trying to see what the gauge of the audience was. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And I remember literally, it was the day after I moved out here to LA, and me and Eric were kind of Nerd Chronic. We were still getting to know each other quite a bit. And then what ended up happening was literally that day, they released the first official photo of the Joker where he has all the tattoos and he's like, doing that shit. And I remember literally Eric handed me his phone and then going, hey, look, this is what the Joker looks like. And I was like, all right, yeah, what's called? I thought it was a Photoshop thing at first.
Right. So did I.
Oh, and then I was so heartbroken just by the fact that, oh no, this is real. Mm-hmm. Oh crap. Like I went from 100% to like down to like 20 or 15 the minute I saw that photo. I was like, I don't know. But in terms of his role in the Suicide Squad, I mean, it's a role that's sort of taken at face value, and it's kind of the most easy interpretation of that character. And like, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way whatsoever. It just kind of felt like something that we would expect. And I kind of didn't feel like Leto had enough wiggle room in that to sort of define the character on his own. Mm-hmm. And with this, it kind of felt like he got simultaneously a little more breathing room to work in and to be more creative and to be more experimental with it. But also he got a little more room to finesse it a little more better. And just having that scene between him and Batman made all the difference for me, because I mean, for the longest time, we all thought that the only interaction he was going to have with Batman was that one scene in the Suicide Squad where he's, running away with Harley on date night. And while it's a cool scene, it's not the confrontation scene that
right.
we would love to have seen.
And I love the weight of this scene where he's talking about like Harley dying in his arms and, Joker killing his son and all like there was so much weight to this and so much interesting that I wish we got to see all that.
Also,
but we won't.
The epilogue, the nightmare stuff still makes no sense, as it makes no sense in Batman versus Superman, but it's really cool.
But also,
that's how I feel.
That I want to talk about in the epilogue of it all, I said it up top. This movie comes so much more together now hearing Joe Morton's speech at the end. Like, that whole epilogue is so beautiful for
all
that
of
alone.
that stuff I loved.
Right.
Yes.
But also, how different the Lex scene at the end of the movie is. Because the sequence with Lex and Deathstroke is entirely different.
And it's actually in the movie instead of... It was a credit.
It was an end credit scene.
And the dialogue was totally different. Everything with Deathstroke and Lex was... The only thing I think that was left was the thing about Lex saying, I'm what is it? He was happy to see the god back in the sky. Like, that was the only line that made it from that version to what we saw.
Right.
Everything else is different.
And then to see Deathstroke in the Nightmare timeline
with
was
a mohawk.
Pretty cool. I would watch a full movie of the Nightmare stuff, even if it doesn't make any sense.
So would I. I mean,
to Sean's point about the Joker, I am still not calling Jared Leto a great Joker, but I certainly liked him more here than in Suicide Squad.
There's just something about his energy to me that very much says comic book villain and the Joker. And I mean Jared Leto's energy, not him as the Joker. I just mean Jared Leto in general. I mean, go watch 30-Second Mars to Kill.
I'm curious to see what he does as Morbius.
David, what were you gonna say real fast?
I was gonna say, I don't know if you guys have seen, but like the whole point of like the nightmare scenes, right? They're purposely setting up Justice League 2 and 3, and the original idea was like in 2 and 3, Zack Snyder had the idea of setting up that like Joker eventually kills Lois,
right?
And then Darkseid like.
Yeah,
there's a pregnancy angle
storyline, right?
Yeah.
Originally it was supposed to be for Justice 2 and 3 that like they're
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's the same storyline as Injustice.
Oh yeah, kind of, pretty much, yeah. But with the added on that allegedly Bruce and Lois had a relationship as well, so there's going to be that tension in there as well.
Well, and also, but then Zach said in an interview this week that Lois is pregnant with Superman's kid in Justice League, which is something we don't see. So I'm going to guess that would have been the new thought.
We don't see it, but there is a very purposeful shot where like she's in her apartment right before she goes to visit the memorial one last time, and she opens it and there's a pregnancy test in there.
Yep.
And I was like, what is she? What? What?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was very obvious that they were,
they're hinting at something. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like literally the moment where I saw that, I couldn't help but laugh and think about Kevin Smith's entire thing in Mallrats, where he's like, "No, man, like that."
Oh my god,
it's way out and all this other stuff. The only way he could bang normal chicks is with a kryptonite condom, but that would kill him. like that entire monologue just popped in my head, where I'm like, "Oh no, that couldn't happen."
It's like
all right. Well, look. I think this train has gone on long enough.
I'll say real quick. I mean, I think you guys kind of all said it, but I do want to touch on this before we get out of here. With everything being equal, just us sitting here, we all know it's likely not to happen, but what are your guys' thoughts now that we've seen it, now that it's happened? Are you guys interested in seeing Zach getting a chance? Because I know I saw what Jacob said. I've heard the same rumor kind of circulating Twitter. I don't know how true it is. I'm going to say it's not right now, just for keeping my head clear. I don't want to get my hopes up at this point now I've seen it. But where are your guys' heads at on wanting to see him get to finish it, whether as a miniseries or a couple of HBO Max movies?
Look, here's my opinion on it. I want to see Justice League come back together. And I don't have the Justice League theme song programmed in, so I'll use the Avengers. I want to see more of this. I want my Nightmare movie. I want the Batman with Deathstroke. I want all of it. Give it all to me. Put it in my veins. Yep. I will become a DC fanboy. I will convert.
Yep.
I'll sell all my Iron Man crap.
I would love to see it.
Will you come to the dark side?
I did want to say one thing about the ending, though, real quick, that I didn't get to mention.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Tim.
And I'm stealing this from a good friend of mine, a mutual friend that Pat knows, so he probably heard it as well, maybe from this person. And I agree with this person that I think the ending could have been better used as like a post-credit scene still in this movie. Because I think the capper of the speech, of Joe Morton's speech, and Superman walking away, pulling his shirt open, revealing the S, is still the best ending for the movie. And then I think even though how long the sequence is with the Lex bit, the nightmare scene, and then the Martian Manhunter, it's a very long scene. But I still think that would have been better if there was like a little bit of a buffer between the actual ending of the film being that emotional ending, and then all this extra stuff at the end. I think so, and that comes from a friend that I was talking to, and I happen to agree with that point.
I agree too. Tim, where do you stand on restoring the Snyderverse?
I mean, I think I really like this. I would like to see, obviously he has a good touch on this story, and like clearly his vision works. I think for most people, I mean, we all love it. I didn't you guys have probably mentioned this earlier. I didn't really like all the ways we got here, but also WB didn't do the best thing either themselves that put us here. So I mean, they could have done the human thing and gave the man time to be with his family and mourn his daughter's death, and then they're like, hey, let's push the movie back, let's do it. But no, they didn't want to go that route because they're a business and they're greedy. So but they look silly, so maybe they'll try to do something to try to like repair their image or something a little bit. I don't know. It's weird. I mentioned this with Pat after watching the movie, but this whole thing is a Pandora's box that's now been opened, and we'll see what happens essentially. But the fact that they kind of like, I'm glad that they allowed this to happen, but the fact that they allowed this to happen is opening a whole nother thing, a whole nother can of worms that they're going to have to address, I think. So
would you call it a Pandora's mother box?
Pandora's mother box has been opened, and another shout out real quick. We gotta do a shout out for Granny Goodness in the background. So.
Yes. I'm praying for a Granny Goodness in the Harley scene if the Harley Quinn TV series is any indication.
David, Andre, what do you guys think? Closing thoughts. Restoring the verse.
I just wanted to ask real quick first. Did everyone read that Vanity Fair article Zach did?
I did.
And how it basically said like after BVS and like the lukewarm reception that got, WB started getting like cold feet about Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it was like
absolutely.
It was like it's kind of gross, but it's like WB taking the opportunity of a tragedy to be like, all right, let's 180 this thing, and ultimately giving us something not very good, arguably speaking. That being said, yeah, I want like seeing the man's vision now and seeing what he did with this and what he planned to do in the future. I would love to see Justice League 2 and 3, but I would love it as a miniseries, not a theatrical cut, because I feel like if you go theater again, you're gonna get for
The
better
same
or for
problems.
worse. Yeah, you're gonna get that WB interference and all that stuff. Whereas if you take it to HBO Max, it's like you know what you're paying for. You're gonna get this director's full vision regardless, and that's ultimately what I really want is Zack Snyder's vision of what he wants Justice League to be.
And
So.
since he said it's considered Elseworld because the WB cut is the canon cut to what they're doing moving forward. A perfect way to go about this, especially with Crisis, honestly, is to let that play out as its Elseworld version on Max. That's just my opinion.
Well, and I resubscribed to Max for this. Like, you know, I think I've gotten a lot of value out of Max Plus, but I resubscribed to it for this.
Yeah.
All $37 a month.
Real quick too. I would love to see like Zack Snyder's continued vision, but I think the thing I came out of this most upset that I don't get to see is the Gareth Evans Batman, Ben Affleck, and Deathstroke movie.
Yeah, dude, I want that fucking Gareth Evans. Gareth Evans was going to direct a Deathstroke movie for $40 million that definitely turned down.
Yeah. That would have been so badass.
Andres, bring us home.
Well, dude, honestly, in terms of just where I'm at with restoring the Snyderverse, for me, I would love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. Having said that, I'm going to count my blessings and basically just say I'm glad with what we got right now, and if it ended here, I'm okay with it. But if HBO Max decided to go forward with the Snyderverse, and if Snyder was willing to come back, that's the key thing, is that if Snyder is willing to come back and he's got the energy for it, and his cast members all want to come back, I would love to see this universe unfold. And the thing is, we brought up at the very beginning of the show, like, COVID has brought some great things along, but probably one of the biggest things that COVID basically made even bigger is the Mandalorian stagecraft tech, which you can now start to shoot movies at a very economical level and have it look amazing with amazing production value that doesn't take any VFX work whatsoever. You shoot everything right then and there. And something like that, if I was to make the case for HBO Max to get on board and make it as cheap as possible with a high return, that is something I would pitch, where it's like, you know what, do the Snyderverse, but all you just have to do is you just have to rent out that volume and just make assets and have these actors play, and you can make it as cheap as possible. And it would look fantastic. I mean, like, look at The Mandalorian. We don't look at that and go, oh, that was compromised. We look at that and we go, that looks like any other Star Wars movie that has come out. In fact, sometimes it looks even better. Having said that, I would love to see it, but if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with it. But there's a lot of cases for it to go forward now than it was 4 or 5 years ago when this was all said and done. We're living in a world now where, like someone said, the mother box is open. I would say it's Jesse Eisenberg. The bell has been rung. Ding, 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 ding.
The red pips are coming.
I don't know whether or not Marcus is being serious here because he's rarely serious. But
I have complicated feelings about it. There's so much to consider. Andres made a lot of great points. Like, up until the week they announced that this was coming out, I never would have believed we would see the Snyder Cut.
Let alone that we would have watched it by this weekend.
If you would ask me a week ago, did I think we would ever see Zack Snyder follow this up, I would have said no. But the reaction to it, both from the fans, for whatever that word means, the critics, just like the general overall reaction has been fairly positive across the board. And I think HBO Max is popping the champagne because I think the numbers
have been
this
great.
weekend have been pretty great. I selfishly would love to see it continue because I think there's still so much fun stuff to play out with what Darkseid's going on, with the Nightmare timeline, with all of this stuff. If they get Ben and Henry back, and because I think Ezra and Jason and Ray would come back no problem, especially if it's Zach doing it. If they can get Ben and Henry back, I just question if it's the right choice for Zack Snyder's mental health to do it.
It's very, and that point is the most important, and the most interesting part is what happens if, say, he gets to do it for Max under different leadership. And WB is totally different now too, which we have to give props to also.
Certainly I think Zach is feeling much better about WB now than he did a couple years ago. I mean, this movie was whatever the fuck he wanted it to be.
Well, that's very complicated, Anton, but he wouldn't be directly working with Walter Hamada if it's done at Max, which is kind of what we're ultimately saying. And there's stuff with that whole situation with Hamada, which I don't necessarily want to get into. Ray has his own personal problems with the situation, rightfully so, in a lot of reasons. The stuff at Hamada, though, is a little different. I think Hamada didn't necessarily actually step in the way that has been necessarily said. I think that there was a lot of other stuff going on, and it's all been not handled the best on either side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's made it very complicated, and I really want both of them to sit down and figure it out, because I think that both of them wanted what was best, and I don't think that either of them... I think that Walter being totally silent because WB has wanted to do that has been a problem, in the same way that taking everything ultimately to Twitter is also a problem, where there's no sitting down and talking about the situation, and that sucks, because I think Ray is right. I think Ray is 100% right. Absolutely. In stepping up and saying, this is the shit that happened. Like, there's no denying that is the right thing to do. But we also have to remember Walter was not involved with Justice League. Like, that is the thing that is left out of a lot of that, is that he was not ultimately involved in the studio at the time it was there. And I think that there's a little bit that needs to be worked on in that situation. And it sucks. But I do agree, accountability over entertainment and all of that. That is very important.
Yes.
I don't know, the behind-the-scenes machinations like you do. I just have two final points. The first is the fact that I'm even interested in potentially seeing the Snyderverse restored or future movies of these is a huge win. If you had told me last week that's where I'd be like, nah. But if we're talking specifically about Ray, and if you follow him on social media, he's been very outspoken about his poor treatment, all of which I believe. And he has said things like, if I never work again, that's okay, because I have to speak up. I think now that a lot of people have seen this movie and seen what he's done, I think this is like a Star is Born performance. I think he's that good. I think he's going to have so many offers. I hope, but I expect him to get a lot of work at many other studios that aren't Warner Brothers. If he's able to work it out with Zach and Warner Brothers, and they do more Justice League stuff, which I think is not impossible based on where we're at on this Sunday evening. But I just think Ray is going to have a really nice career in front of him, because dude is great.
And to Kale, your point, he's coming back for Flash, though. Like, it's probably a cameo, but he has put a lot of his shit aside, which...
I can't help but feel that Ben and Zach and Ray, even seeing the reaction that this cut is getting this weekend,
good for their mental health.
I agree.
Great for their mental health.
The other thing, too, that doesn't get talked about with Ben in particular is one of the reasons why he had such a hard time making that first Justice League movie was because in the fact... at the time he was struggling with alcoholism, but he was also going through a divorce at the same time too. And when you're trying to deal with all that stuff and make a $300 million movie, that's going to get to you. And then that was the entire reason why he stepped down from freaking Batman. From making his Batman solo film, is because he just didn't have the mental fortitude to do that. And I couldn't blame him at all. But now he seems more willing to come back and do other stuff and to basically just be the cheerleader for Zack Snyder. And like, absolutely. I mean, right now he's in a completely different headspace than he was 4 or 5 years.
I just want to say one thing, and I'm trying not to get too much on a soapbox. It's like when you're sitting at home and you're like on your phone, or you have Twitter open on your browser, it's really easy to make fun of or tweet nasty things about people you don't know, about actors, shit on their performances. When someone is
about
cast
Schmodown competitors or question writers,
whatever it is, say these horrible things like, "Oh my God, they cast fucking." Like, remember when Heath Ledger was announced as Joker?
Oh my God.
These are human people. And regardless of their fame or their net worth or any of that stuff, they have the same fucking feelings that we all have. They deal with self-confidence and insecurity and image issues. So before you like go and think about, and I'm not saying, if someone gives a bad performance, it's perfectly okay to say, I didn't like that performance. But before you do these like nasty attacks where you're like going after their family or saying like really horrific things, like if you wouldn't say that to your neighbor or your friend, don't put that out about an actor you don't know just because you think they're famous and it's not going to affect them. This shit very clearly affects them. And I think we could all be a little nicer is what I'm trying to say. Call me naive, but let's be nice.
It's almost like anyone who's watched literally any of our streams, the way I sign off every single time has been talking about the fact that I write for the show and be nice to the writers. We're only human. Like, the reason I have to do that is because of so much shit that we ultimately get from fans and from people who do not understand. Like, we are not just, you can't understand. And I'm a low level writer for a show that gets watched by a couple 100,000 people on YouTube. Like, that's not to take a dig at the thing I do. I love what I do. But the fucking hate, and
even to Sean's point, like, you go look at the Reddit and some of the stuff people decide to post about people they watch compete in movie trivia online. It's like, no, just
that's my point. Like, the shit that I've seen, like, it started, like, I saw it literally the day of that night of the match, and I'm gonna say it, like, there was a tweet that called me the heel of the year because fucking Damon lost the belt. Now, the user has since said that it was a joke and shit, but like, that's not conducive to any of the conversation that we're having. Like, look, I know that you guys care about it too, but also remember, we're fucking human. Like, this stuff is going to go the way that it does, and I'm trying my hardest to make stuff work. And that's me. I'm a low-level person in all this. How do you guys think that people like Zach or Affleck or Ray Fisher, like people on a much bigger platform who are going to get sizable more amounts of mentions and shit, are feeling when they see the stuff that you guys throw at them? Like, really,
this goes all the way to the top and all the way to like, be nice to your barista. Like, if you're having a bad day, don't yell at who you're getting coffee from, because you don't know what kind of a day they're having.
Yeah, so Abby came in, said it's a 10 out of 10, and so is David B. That's all she has to say. You didn't say hi to the rest of us. That's fine, Abby. It's fine.
All right, bye, Abby. Anyways,
I know how Abby feels about me.
Well, I mean, honestly, it all just kind of goes back to just, again, you don't know what kind of day people are having. And also, PJ, you keep saying low level. I'm just like, let's just say we have so much to thank you and your crew for just keeping the movie trivia stuff up and running. And just also on top of that, just it's hard enough to write. I write a quiz. I write quizzes for myself to sort of just study up on stuff. I have a hard time writing stuff that I'm only going to look at. I can't imagine the stress you and your crew are going through in terms of deciding what's the difference between a 1-pointer, a 2-pointer, a 3-pointer, or even a 5-pointer, or any of that stuff. And just what you've done so far, I just want to make it clear that you should not hold yourself that low, and that we all appreciate what you're doing, man.
Thank you, friend.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's my diatribe on that.
I love you.
Well,
PJ, you do. I already told you this in private, but I'll tell you now in publicly. You are doing probably your best work you've done this season so far, and we're only like a couple of months. Legitimately, for anyone who's doubting me, go watch that Star Wars match we were talking about.
Oh my god!
Holy
Masterful
shit!
questions.
Masterful questions. Like, it was literally that match came down to someone just not being able to pull up the information in time. Was it because the question and blah blah? There was a challenge, but it was a reasonable challenge, I would say, rightfully so, because there was two answers to that. The questions were beautifully written. The match was fucking fantastic. Both matches, I would say, you and your crew, but especially you, PJ, are doing the best, in my opinion, best fucking work you've done since I've gotten to know you. So,
absolutely.
Fuck the haters. You know what you're doing, and we see you.
For now, I'm happy to be in the FCL, not the Schmodown, because I don't got to deal with your questions. I can deal with someone else's.
So you can yell at Paul all you want. That's
although I know a question writer or two for FCL, and they're boasting that their questions they're writing. Just get ready. That's all I gotta say. They're like, this is probably the best work I've ever done. And
I'm ready.
You know, there's like one guy we know who's doing it.
Oh yeah, I know.
So okay, before we go around and everyone can sign off and stuff, couple things I want to promote. First of all, we've been talking a lot about the 1 year celebration. As another little hint, if you're a fan of David B and you're a fan of David B's music, definitely check out the 1 year celebration stream, because we may be debuting a brand new theme song.
Oh. Who wrote it? Oh. I get the second to last one. Sweet. Worth it.
Wait, I only have two. I only have one left. Oh
no. They sell those at the store.
I'm sorry.
Tomorrow night.
It's all over my webcam.
This is kind of perfect considering everything we've been talking about tonight. Women Filmmaker Month continues. We're doing a watch along of Wonder Woman by Patty Jenkins. This was picked by our executive producer patron, Brandon Buckingham. As I've been saying...
Nope. Stop.
That's still not right.
Sean, go to one of my streams.
This would be
Can
you send me an MP3 of it?
Yes. Yes.
I want to note that Buck hosts a baseball podcast on Mondays. So we'll be starting 30 to 40 minutes later than our normal time. So it'll be somewhere between 7:30 and 7:40 Pacific tomorrow, starting for the Wonder Woman watch along.
Nice.
That's it. That's all I got.
Cool. Andres, where can the people find you, and tell us all about your upcoming animated comic?
Well, you know what? I kept saying to myself I wasn't going to announce it at any point in time, but you know what? Now it's probably about a good time to announce it. But first off, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram as Galaghost. You can also find me on twitch.tv as Galaghost209. You can also find my motion comic with stars, Dan Nye as the Man of Steel. And also my buddy Zane as the Joker, who also did a phenomenal job. You can find it at tinyurl.com/sound of one hand.
Now, because I won't be able to attend a 1 year anniversary stream. Congratulations, it's been a pleasure getting to know all of you more over the course of this year, and I wish you guys many more years of success.
Who is that?
I don't know. I keep forgetting I have that set up. So we got to stream lab.
Perfect.
Oh, goodness.
Lovely message, though. Thank you, person.
A lot of love in this group. That's great.
Fellow human. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, fellow human.
I forgot that I set up the alerts for it.
Who else but Sean Sully? It's Sully.
It was Sully all
along.
But real quick, you have asked what potential future motion comics are in the pipeline right now, and you know what? I'm going to give you an exclusive right now, guys. The next one is going to be an adaptation of Spider-Man Blue.
Ooh.
That's going to be the next one. I'm still currently writing on it. It's still a little ways away right now. Right now, I want to wait until want to wait until we can safely all get into a room together and basically just. And I actually had to do the performance separately between the two actors, which is incredible for what they were able to achieve on that. But one thing I want to do is I want to get all the actors together, and I want to have them be able to interact with each other. So that's something that I'm looking forward to for the next round, and that's going to be an interesting experiment for Spider-Man Blue.
That's awesome. And for what it's worth, I really loved Sound of One Hand. I thought you did a fantastic job. So if you haven't seen it, do go watch it.
I didn't realize it was.
Really
I didn't realize it was out. That's why I kept saying upcoming.
Oh, oh, no worries.
All right, David B., what you got going on? Where can the kids find you online, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et al., et cetera?
Et cetera, and et cetera. I got so much going on. Obviously, Schmodown's in full swing. I've been writing a lot of fucking themes for that, so keep your ears out. Go find me on Twitter at DavidBMusic21. Also on Instagram. I'm going to try on Instagram to start releasing what I'm calling late night acoustic sections, where I just take cover songs and just do like a quick little acoustic ditty on it. In celebration of Zack Snyder, I did one for Hallelujah on Instagram, so go check that out. And also please go to my Twitch, twitch.tv/DavidBMusic21, where I do live requests and covers and sometimes original, completely improvised pieces of music that only exist on that stream. So go check me out. If you follow or sub, you can go request songs, and you could also try to challenge me to live learn something in the middle of a stream. Yes, I will sight read the music. No guarantee it'll be good, but I will definitely
David
try.
B's Twitch music streams are tied for my favorite Twitch streams.
They've literally been background music for us as we've hung out. I'm not joking, you guys.
And I will be honest with you. I love them.
David
I listen to them at
Biscuits.
work.
For real? The VODs? That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That
I
VODs.
gotta know. How much do we have to donate to get you to Fun Run?
I'm a poor musician, so anything upwards of $1. And then also, finally, my stream Sunday Beats, I made it for creators and content creators. If you're doing a live stream and you want background music, you can totally use my album Sunday Beats. No copyright strike, unless you steal it and say you wrote it. In which case, I will persecute you to the fullest extent of the law. And go stream that everywhere you stream music: Spotify, Amazon, Apple, Napster. I know, crazy, but I'm on Napster, so go check that out. That exists. And then finally, I got 2 podcasts that I do: Speak Freely and Men Amongst Monsters. And go check all that stuff out. Anything else, just follow me on Twitter. I'm constantly trying to get eyes on the stuff I do. Or ears, mostly ears, because I'm a musician. Yes. And the B does stand for biscuits. That's unfortunately Sean. I told him not to do it, but he revealed. I'm sorry, on his Twitch channel, but it's out there now. It's fine. But yes, the B is David Biscuit Music. So it is what it is. But yeah.
Look, for the rest of us, Timmy, anything special this week?
I'll be on the anniversary stream, I imagine. I want to talk about my hashtag right here. Release the King Cut. That's the next thing for us to get behind, and that is for the release of the true rated R cut of the 1986 classic Maximum Overdrive, which is only owned by Stephen King himself. He said he will never release it, but come on, man. That's a movie. That's a movie made by Cocaine and
Emilio Estevez.
If there's a more violent version of that film out there, I want to see it. And that's all I got to say. Release the King Cut of Maximum Overdrive. There we go.
There you go.
T Franco 84. I guess you can find me there on Twitter. There you go.
You know me, Suit of Sully on Twitter, Sean Sully on Twitch. Yep. Max.
Someone.
Could please?
Max froze.
Always on the PJCN. We do have an episode.
Oh. Wait. Is Maxwell back?
Kind of.
I think it's there. He is. Wait, I think we see him.
Hey.
Yeah. Wait,
you're unfrozen.
There, you're unfrozen. You're back. We literally didn't hear anything. You spit up.
Quit funny running and promoting. Doesn't work.
You can find me on Twitter at Cinemaxwell, Instagram at Cinemaxwell Inc. We do have an episode of Front Center Mez this Thursday with our guest Lance Rubin, who we were supposed to have a couple months ago and got rescheduled. That's going to be great. And at some point in the near future, you can find me competing in the First Class League. Good luck to all the other competitors. They're going to need it.
I thought it was the First Cine Fanatics League.
Well, they were officially announced tonight. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, the brothers Adams are indeed
the twins. The twins Adams.
The twins.
The twins Adams are indeed in the Fakul.
Fakul.
The Fukul.
As I call it, the Fakul.
If they don't do if they don't do the mamushka on their first entrance, then it's
and by the way, you know who else was announced tonight officially? Who we were talking about earlier is late to the party.
PJ.
Both of those fine people will be in the Fakul.
The finest.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at PJ_Campbell. You can find me at the Movie Trivia Schmodown, where I write the questions. Be nice to the writers. We're only human. And you can find me here hanging out the Pajukin with all my favorite people. Hit us up for that 1 year anniversary, you guys. That shit's going to be fucking crazy.
Yes. And to quote Kevin Smith, y'all doing the Lord's work on this.
Well, since Maxwell froze, I'll go ahead and do this for us.
Please leave this office.
Do we get any sort of souvenir?
Get out of my office!
I'll be back.
I gotta pay.
Throw me a frickin' bone here. I'm the boss. Need the info.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Heavy is the head that eats the crayons. I'm gonna take a nap. See you in 10 hours.
Dude, I almost had you. You almost had me. You never had me.
I like your style, dude.
End of line.